Good morning, everyone. Today is the third day. It's the last day for the advanced operators training. I hope that the last 2 days you guys have learned all the important things on the advanced operator training. I go through the what we have learned in day one. That we have already talked about it yesterday. The alpha and the access and the security concept. Day two, value, the security value, authority days, work management. Yesterday, we have gone through the subsystem, the job processing, and the programming concept. And afternoon, we also talk about the more on the programming concept and so on, and a bit on the CL programming. Today, probably we'll still continue with the SDA and tips to improve the operation, journaling overview, and the basic operation. Journaling is very important for you to do the recovery. You better spend some time on it. So in case you want to know what are the record before the update or after update, you better have the journaling to recover for your job. Yeah? And the virtual IP. Yeah? So those who asked about the recorded video yesterday, you can send us the email and we will arrange to send it to you. So I think we'll arrange for you so that you can download it because it's very big, so that you can train your team. And those who would like to have the PDF materials, also you can also send it to us that we can arrange for you to get it. Yeah, once we receive it, we'll get it. Yesterday, Jason have talked about the sign-on screen for your AS400. That means the first screen that you do the sign-on. I think if you haven't changed it, please change it, especially for your DR, your ORT environment, your UAT environment, your development environment. So when your user is accidentally logged onto the screen at the time, at least he saw the screen is DR. Make sure that it's blinking. And make sure that you have all these settings defined properly. Should you upgrade the OS, you have to check again. Don't let it disappear and then after that it's gone. Because that you have to learn all these things. So you want to learn all these things, maybe you send us more the email or the chat there. Then we probably can look into organize to train you some other thing on top of what we are training you today. So you can't issue the command of the start PDM like what Jason said yesterday. You don't have a license. So you probably have to look for the machine that got the license, either in the development server or in another server, or you probably don't have a license at all. So not all the command you can issue. Or it's not installed. So again, I still wanted the team to let us know that whether we should have the AS1 group, we should talk about more things that everyone need to learn, or we should have a separate topic on the SEU, we should have a separate topic on the SDA, because all these are by itself a training, is it? But we couldn't conduct everything, but we will pick the one that will have the highest request, you see. So what you want to do, or CL by itself is also a course, you see. What we are going through this 3 days is just a fraction of the AS400, and it's just an advanced training, you see. So we haven't talk about those who haven't attended the basic operation like backup, restore, and how to look at a message, how to check the message, how to check message log. So those are another topic, but we have the limited funding, so we will look at the topic where it benefit more people. Yeah. So that but we can organize it in a time to come. So we are more than happy to fund it. So the forum also, I would like someone to come in to help out and suggest certain topic and area that we can share. It's not just only we are sharing, because some of the user out there, actually the big programming group user, you probably have something to share also, because you probably have some skill that you can probably train those people that who don't have skill. so that we can actually build a much better group for the entire AS400 community. And also the future topics and training related to the AS400. So there are other topics, including heavy topics like MQ on AS400 and so on and so. But we don't know whether there is interest or not. Okay. Okay, I will pass it to Jason to continue today's training. Right, Jason.
Right, thank you, Mr. Lee. So let me just recap what Mr. Lee just go through with today's agenda, right? So we probably end somewhere around, okay, let me just bring up this slide, right? So if we were to able to speed up everything, we should be able to end at 5, but let's see how the progress go. But if we follow the schedule, right, we probably end around 5:25 today, right? Again, I'm here, I'm actually putting a 2 hours lunch break. I think for Friday, right, I think our Muslim friend may need to go for the prayer. So we will decide later on, see how long is the break, okay? Okay. Regarding what Mr. Lee suggests or proposed to our to everyone here, I kind of quite support that idea. The reason is for other country like Indonesia, right? The business partner there is pretty strong. So what they did is actually quite same as what Mr. Lee is doing for you. They do have a strong user group. They form basically 2 user group for IBM I. One is the developer group. The other one is the general generic IBM I group, whereby they do have a meeting at least once a year. Like 2 years back, myself and my colleague Park Roy, we were actually went to a private kind of an island where the mayor of the Jakarta Ahok from. So we went to that island and have the 3-day session with all the AS400 users within Indonesia. So I'm hoping that in the Malaysia forum, the AS400 user group can be formed, and in future probably we can run events and training together. Then we can have a more fruitful session whereby the users themselves actually share and present, so they can actually share their experience on, like for instance, how do they use certain IBM I products and how they make benefit from it. It's a user experience sharing, right? So the other part that Mr. Lee mentioned about cloud is the same thing, right? By having the Malaysia chartered of our own cloud practice in this country, not only promoting the skill set for the IBM I user within the country and the region, and we can also force the other counterpart like US or other places that provide cloud services and technology to bring in the technology and enable our technical people here, instead of people here have to rely on the far foreign unknown place where these cloud centers are, and you have to rely on people that you do not know where they're coming from, right? So in a nutshell, actually I quite support what Mr. Lee's suggestion of having our Malaysia cloud services, cloud center, cloud skill set, cloud support, so that we can actually be part of the strong team in the whole ASEAN region or regional AP region, right? Instead of we relying on others people, why don't we build our own cloud skills and cloud community here, right? Okay, now let's move forward. I will answer some of the questions posed yesterday. Give me a second. Okay, these are the questions posed yesterday, and I think I did not have the opportunity to answer it. Right. So there was one question. First question was, my company AS400 is on V7R2 currently. I did find the product option install. Right, option 47 install in the assessing license program. Can I use the RCAC features in my current LPAR? So the answer is yes. Just give me a minute. So these are the just these are the one of the chart that I used to back in last year for the IBMI conference or Tech U with CBS. So if you want to do the IBMI DB2 security, so you can start with 7172. You can see the few procedures available. Right, column masking is available on 72, 73, and 74. Right, role permission, the same thing, is on 72 and 73. Right, so limit access to data within a column. Right, so using field procedure, yes. Column masking, yes. Role permission, no. And virtual form, yes. Right, so one of the things that available on 74 is actually the column data protection. Right, that is the one that's available on 74. Right, but because this is a slightly older slide, but what I'm trying to do is, yes, on 72, 73, you can actually have column masking. Right, so in terms of performance, the private authorities performance. Yeah. So in terms of performance, private authority better than authorization list. If you recall the hierarchical checking on the how authority is being checked, right? First thing is when an object is being assessed. If you refer to the chart again, so it will go through a list of this a ranking. So from is that user profile has the authority, then come back to group profile, and it go down level by level, right? So the best is actually keep it simple. What it means is, if you want to have the user enroll the user into the authorization list, either you enroll them into a authorization list, authority list, or you enroll them into a group profile. You try to avoid enroll them into multiple places, because that's where the system will check multiple places to ensure that this group of users or this list of users are authorized to do it. So the lesser the operating system check, the faster the performance. Okay. The third question: why need to tune at optimum speed, half fast or half slow, and not at fastest? Now, this is very subjective. By default, we will always tune for the optimum speed or the fastest speed, but on certain occasion, right, a tuning is where you tune for your needs and not tune for, like for instance, if you're on benchmarking or you're tuned for batch run, you want to tune it to run the fastest, right? But on certain location, you may want to tune other jobs slower so that you can actually tune the first priority at the fastest. So tuning is actually based on needs. So it can be any speed subject to your requirement. So yeah, certain occasion we need to tune certain tasks to make it fast, and at the same time we also want to lower other job to run at a slightly lower priority. So in a nutshell, yes, tuning is really based on needs, and it can be fast or it can be any speed. Yeah. Okay, the fourth question on workload distributions and performance management within the same LPAR. How can user control the CPU resource by selective windows? Well, to give you an example, like 11:01 to 6 a.m., no CPU constraint. Basically, this one, it can be very easy to achieve because the system by itself is no CPU constraint. And how we allocate the CPU task is whether you run in the subsystem queue batch or queue inter, right? And also you can have you can create your own subsystem and define your class. All this job running in which priority in CPU, we call routing, you run at a CPU of priority 20 or 50, and what are the time slice, right? So you can actually customize that. So from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., so CPU resource prioritized to online processing. Again, this is what we are doing now, whereby you have the online or queue inter, right? And whereby your batch run is actually run at priority 50. So that is exactly what it's doing now. As long as we assign the task to run on different subsystem, the task and CPU resource will prioritize accordingly, right? Okay, if you want to be more granular, you want to be, certain task name into which one, you can as well. Remember in the subsystem, there is a routing entry and comparing the workstation entry and so forth. They'll compare the value of that particular task. So you can actually do that. But if you want to, as I said, there are many ways to do it. In simple layman answer, many ways to do it. And if you want to go down to very specific, then you may need to do your own monitoring or third-party task monitoring tools. There are third-party task monitoring tools that it can help you to even, if a task is taking too long, which is the next question. If a task is taking too long to run, okay, these are all related as well. Job performance prioritizations. With automation, is there any selected job taking longer to execute? Let's say for 15% beyond the SLA, can the system automatically degrade it? Now, the answer is the same. You may need a third-party monitoring tools to task monitoring tools, because the OS itself will not know or will not have this capability to specify which task is actually monitoring it, and then based on your 15% SLA or 20 minutes and all this thing, it doesn't have this capability right now. But there are third-party tools that you can do it, or you can actually write your own, monitoring tasks. It's actually quite easy to write, actually, using a CL program to monitor certain tasks. And if you exceeded the time threshold, like 20 minutes, or it takes longer than your SLA, I'm not sure your SLA, right? So you can put down your SLA and the 15% there. And once this thing exceeded, you can actually use a change job command to move it down or suspend it, or lower it down to the lower. So all these are possible, but the standard we call OS doesn't come with the feature. What the standard OS come with is something called runaway SQL job. Meaning that, if a SQL segment, let's say select asterisk from we call a transaction master file, which have 5 million record, that will easily take to do a select asterisk, meaning select everything. From that, basically you select the whole file with 5 million record, and this thing will basically even jam out your Ethernet or bandwidth. So that will take a long time to execute, and also you make your hard disk, everything at disk I/O very, very busy. So in that manner, the IBM I has something called a runaway SQL statement, and it can be monitored. And when you run up to a certain second in the system will automatically drop that we call runaway SQL job and drop that thing, right? That is possible, and it can be set up in the SQL, DB2 SQL setup there, right? Now let's come back to today's topics. Give me a minute to look the file. Okay. If you guys recall, yesterday I was trying to do a demo of the screen using a CL program, and we hit into some problem. I promise you that I will fix that problem, and we'll show it today. So what I'm doing now is we continue that part first, then only we will go to the new SDA the coming module, right? So this is where we left out yesterday. So I will start PDM again. And to show you what happened with yesterday's program, if you recall, this was yesterday's program that we try to build a screen. And that's the same thing that we will do in this today topic SDA, but we actually did it months ahead, right? So yesterday I made a mistake of the command key. So I have fixed that, and now these programs are all working. So let's try to show you what happened, right? Okay. So I'm going to execute the program here, call ASCLP001, right? So this will call the screen that we designed. This is the screen. We call the prompt screen that we designed. So if I select 01, it will do a work queue. And I hit enter again, it come back to the menu. If I select 02, it will do a work active job. Then I hit enter again, it come back here. If I select 90, it will sign off. You notice that there is a F3 key here, which is a function 3 exit. So if I were to press now F function key F3, then it come back. That this is end. So this program is a very simple program. We call declare file. Declare file, this is where you read the display file, which I'm going to cover it using SDA in this coming following topics, right? How do you design a screen? Then here is actually you read the screen, send receive file. This is called send receive file, mean I send the file to the screen and then I receive the file from the screen with this record format. If someone press a function 3, indicator 01, return me this program exit. If option equal to 1, I do a work out queue. Else if option is 02, I do a work active job. The third one I didn't show on the screen, so I will do a run query. And else if option 90, then it will sign off the screen. And if nothing happened, I go back to the command label start. So I come here and I read the screen. I wait for the input again, right? So basically, this is a very simple CL program that we did. So now, following this thing, we will do the screen design again. Yesterday I did that, right? But today we go down to the detail. Right, so to do that is actually the following screen is called Screen Design SDA. So this one will bring you to the screen. This is what I did yesterday. So now I'm going to shift you back to the presentation. Then you run through that and you come back. Okay. So let's continue. Right. So today, what we are going to cover is the topic we call Module 19, which we will walk you through how do you design a screen. We call an entry screen. You can use this thing to just for your knowledge, right? The AS400 developer, be it a COBOL developer, RPG developer, or CL developer, we use the same common tools, which is the tools called Screen Design 8, to design the screen, and it will automatically generate we call a source file. So this technology has been around more than 30 years. So it is actually very advanced back in the days, 30 years ago, whereby you can actually work on the screen and design everything, it generate a source code for you. And similarly with printer. So we do not cover this in this training. IBM developer use the screen, the printer design tools as well to design the printer layout, right? So Screen Design 8 offer the following functionality. So it allows you to design everything straight on the screen, and which are used in a high-level programming language, and then it will generate a source code, and you can create and modify menus, right? And basically it has one is create a screen, the other one is create a menus, right? So we will do this in we will cover this both in this module. So create and modify a help information. Basically, if it's certain area, you press F1, you can even create a help syntax there, and then it pops out as windows explaining to you what is these parameters about, right? And test display. So you can test your display like indication, reverse, highlight, and all this thing without the need of the high-level program, right? So this is pretty cool. And with SDA, you can develop menus and also display them in an interactive manner. And by answering questions, like fill in the blank. Yeah, we will cover this later on. So basically, you can say, oh, this field, I want it to be highlight. So you can, I want it to do blinking. So what you do is you go to this field and you select, you fill in the blank, how you want this field to present to the end user. So these are the screen design menu. We call Start SDA. So the first option is you can go to design a screen like what I did yesterday, or you can come to option 2, design a menus, right? So the menu will be exactly like what you're seeing here, the standard IBM I or AS400 menu. Okay. So again, you need to have a file because of these are high-level language. It will whatever you design on the screen, it will generate a source code. So the source code will be stored in this, this name called Q. All these IBM first characters always Q menu source, and in this library called AS2700. So you can have your name. You can name your menu, right? So you can put the name that you want. Okay. So for this case, it's going to call my menu. So the next screen will pop up after that, and you hit enter, right? So it will ask you, do you work with your menu image and command? So you say yes. This thing will bring you to the next level, which is going to the menu screen and let you design your menu, right? So this is where the menu screen will come in, and it actually has defaulted for you so that you do not do everything from scratch, right? So if you notice, and all this F3 exit work with command and all this stuff are already there. So all you need to do is you can just put in your text. Let's say option 1, you want to do something called work active job and so forth. You just key it here. And then, so let me see the next sample. Okay. So the sample of this screen is trying to show is you do not like to this name called my menu. What you can do is you put a D here, which is the second screen. So you put the D next to the my menu. What it tells the system is I'm going to delete this name. So when you put a D there, it will delete. All right. So then how you put it back? If you recall yesterday, it's exactly the same as what I did yesterday. So you put a apostrophe there. In this one, you type in and then you put a 2 apostrophe up here, open and close. Then this you can rename it called general backup menu. All right. So then you hit enter, that 2 apostrophe will go away. Right. And yeah. So then if you want to have special effect, so you put an AC there, then the menu will have special effect. So you have to, you call it a centralized. You put it to align centralized. AC is mean align centralized. And then what you do next is actually, if you recall what I did yesterday, you put an asterisk date, asterisk time. It will give you the current date and time of the system, right? So this will generate a date and time and then the format will follow your system value, date, time format, Monday, year, Monday. All right. So again, now following it, you can type in what you want to do. You can put this open and close, then type initialize a tape, and then midday backup, and so forth. Once you hit enter, all those that open or close apostrophe will go away, right? Right. So this is what happened. You already created a menu screen, but you haven't created something called an action. So what happened is subsequently, if you press F10, it will bring you down to where you tie the option. User select option 1. It will do. You can put in command there, initialize tape, INZ, JP, and so forth. So let's see. Right. This is exactly what happened. So what you press is you press F18 here. Work with the F10. Let me say. F10 here, you work with the command. So you bring in here, and in here you will see option. Sorry, let me bring back my pointer. So here in option 01 is where it tied to the 01. Right, this is the menu name. So you say initialize a tape, and then you can prompt it. Okay. So then subsequently you put in your remaining parameter. Like the second option is call midday, call a different program, call weekly, and then release a job queue. And work active job in option 9, and 10 is work job queue inter, right? So let's go back there and see. Yeah, option 10 is work queue inter, display active job on the system, release like job queue, and so forth. So this is exactly what you do. You feed there, right? So, and then, so when you select the option 01, so this thing is actually, because when you say initialize tape, you remember here, option 1 is initialize tape, and you prompt the users to actually key in the volume name, right? And the rest is default. I mean, they can change it or they cannot change it. So this is happened here. So this thing will automatically come up when you select option 1. This parameter will pop up, and then the user can actually change the parameter as and when they need it, right? Right, then you're done. and then you can just hit F3, exit. Then the system will generate, will say, save this thing, and it will replace the menu and it create a menu object. This thing will compile the menu and make it a workable menu for you, right? And then you can do F3 again to get out. And you can, and this thing is actually when you do a go menu, right? Go straight away my menu, this menu will pops up, okay? Let the system prompt for parameters and so forth. Let me go on first. Command line, yeah, this command line here represent this one here. This is a command line. You can actually customize it. Why do you want to restrict the command line long or short? Long mean you can actually, in this bottom of the command line here, you can actually type your command. But some of the company, they do not allow their operator to have command line entry. They can only select option, whereby you don't allow them to even key in any command, right? So when here, then you prompt for parameter, yes, is allowed. And the command line object here, you say short or none. Then this, basically what it does is strictly do not allow, it's become a very short 01, a 2-digit entry that do not allow you to key in any command, all right? So the long one, a short one, and none. None is where you can only key in the option, right? A short one is this one, still can do it, but limited to certain parameters. Long one is a full AS400 long command line, right? Okay, so how do you delete a command? Basically, there are many ways to do it. You can delete using this call delete menu, or you can go to the source member there and remove the members, okay? Okay. So that's about it about command. So hey, if you guys interested, I'm gonna go to spend 2 minutes to do a live demo for you, so that you know what I'm talking about, right? So let me switch to the actual demo. Okay. So coming back here, let me just get up from here. What I do, I use this command called Start Screen Design A, SDA, and hit enter. Right, you come here. So yesterday I do a design screen, if you recall. Let me go back and refresh your memory. So what I did yesterday, I do a screen design. If you remember, I can come back here and design the image. This is exactly what I did yesterday, if you recall. So what I can do is I can do an AC here, align center, right? Then this thing will align to the center. So did that. So what I'm not sure, I can do a straight here. You bring me, remember that's why I said everything is in prompt. So what I need to do, I want to change the color. I want to do a reverse. I want to do a blue. So I can say yes, right? So blue color, yes. Then I will say, this is my blue color. And enter again. See, JSON demo become blue, right? I can actually customize all this thing, right? So go back here, let me remove it. So over here, same thing, the date and time, right? And then I can put system name here. I want to. Right? Yeah, never mind. So basically, this is the screen that I did yesterday, and here I can actually save it and exit. This is how I design a screen. So what I missed out yesterday was actually option 14, we call a file level keywords. Right? If I do that, option 14, I come here, and this is where yesterday I missed out. This is the F3 key. If I hit the command F3, I'll turn the indicator on. Right, this is where the F3 key out. Then that's where the system screen will take a F3 and send it back to my CL program, right? Now I'm going back to get out from here, right? So just to show you what I did yesterday, when I go back to here and start with PDM, I show you the members that the screen automatically created. So that is called DDS SRC. So this is the screen that I worked on just now. If I put a 2 here, the screen is automatically generated into this source. this is the actual AS1 programming source, like work output queue, option 1, 02 work active job sign off. And if there is a command F3 being key in, I will turn on indicator 01. And all this, if you were to study a different programming course with us, with IBM, we will actually teach you both. How do you read this syntax and how do you key in here? And yesterday there was a question asked. Remember when I do a CL program, somebody asked, do you need to key in specific column? Yes, for DDS, everything in particular column. In RPG, everything in a particular column. So you see, this thing, if you notice here, these are all in different column, and this is very tedious, right? So in IBM I, since 30 years ago, we have all these high-level language command that help you to do your programming, right? But of course, if you are a very detailed person, you want to know everything in great detail, then you probably come back to what I show you here. You go down into this low-level format, right? So, and then it will not run away. You know, the author is Jason Tan, right? And everything, when do I do that? In one day. And when I change the line, if I will move from here, the source code will show me, the screen is not wide enough. If the screen is wide enough, you have 130 or 80 columns. You can see on the right-hand side here, it will show the date, even when each of this line been changed by who, right? So you can't run away from that. All right, now go back to the screen design. So what we are going to cover is design and menu, option number 2. So again, I'm going to try to create a menu called My Menu, right? Sorry, I haven't created a source file. In a minute, I create a source file in AS27 demo. It's called Q menu source, right? You recall that. We'll design menu Q C AS27 demo. So this is going to call my menu, all right? And hit yes, I go straight into design, exactly what we do, right? So here I can put my menu and so forth, and I follow the so here I'm going to put a date and time here. So what I do is I put straight to the sorry. Let me just long time I will do this. Give me a minute. A straight date. So I make mistake here. Oh, the line is not enough. So let me see. I can do this. Okay, we shall line that. Okay, so here I can actually first thing say again, sorry. So I'm just doing one sample. So what I'm going to come down here is I'm going to press F10 so that I only work in one sample here. All right. So in this F10, what I'm going to do is I'm just putting one active job here and done. Right. So I'm done with that. I press F3 and I press F3 to exit and compile my menu. Right. Enter. And it will save it and it will create a compile. You see everything? You will compile this menu. This menu. Enter. So let me go up. F3, get out. So now how do I call my menu? I just go, right? And my menu. and it will call my menu. Remember the new menu that I just created, right? So I will select option 1, it will active job, right? Enter. So if you do not want to, you can go out. So remember to start the menu, I can make it short. So what I do, I go back here again and I exit. Let me just change the menu with the short command. Doesn't have that. Give me a minute. Let me check where do I see that. Oh, my mistake here. So what you do is when you create this menu, you can call this create menu command, right? The menu is my menu and AS27 demo. Menu type is the So over here, you can see that it will allow you to have the additional means called command line. So command line here, you can say none. If you specify none in here, command line here, then this menu will not have the long menu, all right? Okay, go with that again. There's some error here. Oh, it didn't compile properly. Okay, there's an error. Okay, it's created. Yeah, so you can see that now I have successfully created this menu, and you can notice that in the bottom here, there's no command line, right? I can only put in 1, 2, 3. I cannot put in a long command, right? This is how you limit your operators or your end user from actually keying any OS command here, right? All right, so yeah, so let's move on. So we have covered the menu now. If there's no question, I will continue with the next topics. Okay. So now we are going to cover this topic called tips for improved operation. Right. Now this is something new. To be very frank with you, I have not tried this or have not tried to use this called proxy command. But what in the old day, what we do is actually quite similar to previous time, whereby you can actually, if you're an AS400 developer, you can actually create a command yourself. Okay. So this is the same thing, but in the new V7R, the more newer release, because I've not started conducting this advanced operator shops workshop for since V7R2 onwards. So I believe this is something newer from V7R2 onwards. This is a new proxy command. All right. Basically, it works the same, whereby you allow the AS400 developer or operator to create a proxy command, which is actually create your own command. Okay. So what we are going to cover is you can create a proxy command shortcut to a target command, meaning to the original command. You can use change command to change the command default. And you can also use the command called change command default to permanently change the command default. Right. And then we will cover all these things. So basically, we will also use handle what we call a system reply list. When there's an inquiry message, you can do something called automatically reply that message. Instead of you go to the system operator, you go to the message queue yourself to reply that message, right? So you can actually define the automatic reply list that you help you to automatically reply such message, right? I'm not sure whether you have do that or encounter that before, right? For instance, remember yesterday I talked about if you are the operator, if you are printing a report from a standard ply to a 3-ply and so forth, the system will prompt you to load form. What happens is there will be a new we call operator message in the operator queue, work message queue, Q6 OPR. And in that operator queue, you will ask you load form 3-ply to 3RT01 if you are using a system printer. So that message actually has a message ID. Okay. So if you say, when I hit this message ID, when the operator message encounter this message ID, you say reply a G, mean automatic. I don't care. I don't want to change the 3-ply list. I just go with it. So this is how you do that. So this is what we call a system reply list to automatically reply a message. And if anyone were to, most of us as a developer in the old days, there's something similar to your PC, whereby, you can actually lock your screen and go out for lunch break. Then after that, after you finish one break in an hour, you come back, you continue where you left off, right? So in the AS400 30 years ago, we have this similar function we call disconnect job. So when you issue this command called disconnect job, your workstation will actually left where you are, and then when you come back, you log in again, it will continue where you are. So this is where we call temporary disable, right? Disconnect job. How a job is temporary true. And also there's another one called attention key. Attention key is where, if you recall, I talked about the old 5250 terminal, the real terminal, not the emulator. Every one of us now is using an emulator. In the physical terminal, the keyboard there is actually a physical key called attention key. So when you hit that attention key, you can actually customize the attention key to do what you want. For example, you can hit that attention key and make it a disconnect job, or you can hit that attention key and make a window pops up and a menu that you want to use regularly, right? Okay. So use printer efficiently through printer load balancing. Now this is very interesting. I think in the bank you probably know there are 10 counters, right? And in the old days, 10 counter will have 10 queue. Then through computer, because of this printer efficiency, then the scientists or our computer guys actually figure out with one queue, multiple counter or multiple printer, it's actually more moving the printing more faster. And that's because of the printing requirement. That's where later on they found that to efficiently make a queue more efficient to serve the requirement, having one single queue with multiple counter or multiple printer is actually the best way to go. And this thing has been practiced in computer and later being put down to the how we queue in the bank. So the same thing. So we can have multiple queue, right? Up to 10 output queue service. One queue service by 10 printer basically. So you have one queue service by 10 printer. This is how it works. Later we will show you how to do that. And describe the process of creating a virtual optical device. So this is something we call virtualization. In IBM I, you can actually create a virtual optical drive device, and you can have virtual optical disk inside there as well. So image, we call it image catalog, right? So you can use this to install your OS, install your PTF, and so forth. We call unattended, because instead of you loading the DVDs one by one, you can copy these DVDs into the virtual DVDs into a virtual optical drive, and it will mount them and load them one by one automatically, and so that when you can have actually some called unattended OS upgrade, right? So, or unattended PTF installation. So this is one of the features that we shared with you how to do it, right? And also how to perform FTP. Well, this thing, I think many of you using it day to day. You don't need probably me to teach you how to do it. But anyway, we'll still go through this as a module, but on a fast pace, yeah. And then the last but not least, we will explain how we do SSD and DSD function to diagnose the problems. Okay? So basically what we do is creating a proxy command. In the old day, as I said, this is something new. I think this introduced somewhere after V7R1. We can create our own command, or we duplicate the command. What we do is we rename the old one. We make a copy of the command that we want to change or do something. Then what we do is we actually, then from there, we make changes to the command. But what we do here, this is a new one called a proxy command. So what you do is you can create a proxy command to tie to the original command. Meaning, let's say for work active job, you want to make work active job slightly work different. So you can use this command called create proxy command, then work active job. Okay. Then basically you require a command name, the new proxy command, and a target command. Target command is the original command. Okay. And then you can from there change those text authority and replace. So again, you can also specify a proxy command for the target command parameters, what you want to pass over there. So when you're creating the proxy command, you do not need to specify the command definition source. So what it means is, if you are a seasoned or experienced operator, you probably know you can create a command and you need to define the source, right? So with this new proxy command, you do not need to specify a source. And it does not contain any parameters information, form control, and so forth. And how do you know this is a new proxy command or existing original command? You can basically use this command called display command, and to show that this command is an original one or is a proxy. Okay. So all the IBM OS commands are stored in the QSys library. And when you have certain license program, for instance, PowerHA, right? So PowerHA or BMS, they will have their own set of commands stored in their own libraries, right? So, but a proxy command is usually created and stored in QSys, right? And pointing to the target command in their respective license program library. So the system uses a security in place for license program, right? When you prompt to run and you prompt it to run the proxy command, right? So running change command or change command default to a proxy will actually alter the original command. Now, why do you do that? Why would you want to change the command? If in this normal interactive class, I'll ask this question, then people will answer me. But here, I don't expect you to answer me. So if you notice, running an online class is very interesting. I'm basically facing my own computer screen and talking to myself and assuming everyone is facing me. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, why do we want to change the command? Now, there are a few reasons for it. One of the main reasons is actually, you do not, I give you an example. Remember yesterday there was somebody asked me, why you don't allow a developer to compile more than 3 times or 5 times, right? In current modern world, the same thing. If you have a machine and your developer is actually using you're sharing the same machine as your production machine, in the good old days, that is what actually happened. There's no luxury that you have 2 machines, one production, one for development. The developer and the end user are actually sharing the same machine. And if the developer to do compilation on the production machine, everyone will slow down. So that's the reason why developers have to submit it to run at a batch. And we have to, because the CPU is very slow and everyone is sharing one. So we typically do not allow the developer to compile the program interactively, meaning go to 50, 50, 50, that's not what I did. Create a menu, create a CL program, issuing the command calls, create CL program or create a menu interactively using a 5250 screen. We will have to compile them using a command called submit job to compile it at the back so that you run at level 50. We call priority 50, so that all the interactive users, all the data entry, the invoice, all the front end users do not get affected by the compiling job. So that's the reason why we want to change the command back in the old days. So we force the command like create CL program. We go and change that command to say, you must run this at the back. So you remember in the routing entry, there's a comparison QCMDI, QCMDB, batch and interactive. That is what this in purpose. So you can actually restrict that command to run on. So you can actually restrict that command to run in the batch mode in every environment, right? Or in interactive mode, or if you compile a CL program, you call from a batch entry, or you compile it in a CL program, you call for interactive entry. So this is in the old days, all these are very useful and in control, so that you can actually control your developer and end user, so that when they issue those things, they go to the right place. So this is one of the purpose that we actually change the command to restrict how it's being run. Okay. So how a command is being changed, which command should be changed, right? So a command that create program should not be run interactive, right? That was the old day, right? So today we have our own development LPA or machine, and CPU resources tend to be cheaper, right? So that's why I say nowadays the modern programmer use a computer to test the logic, test their program. But in the old days, things are very treasure. Again, how we can actually leverage this is the same thing. I'm just going through that. So you can say change command create a COBOL program. You can only allow it to run in a batch or batch program. So you cannot run it interactive. So then this restricted the command to just run in batch, and you cannot submit, you cannot just call that this create CL program or say RPG program, Java program, run in interactive mode. The system will reject it, right? So basically the same thing. When you create a logical file, physical file, print file, display file command, and you can change them to run in only batch and batch program mode. Okay. So like certain program, same thing, safe library. If you want them to run in the batch mode, you can, right? So you can say, okay, safe library, you should not run in the interactive manner, right? So now the next, this one is making the command to run in various, we call execution mode. The other one is actually the parameter default. So I can change the command parameter. You know, the command will have safe library mode, and then it's blank, right? A device is blank. And actually there are certain prompt, it actually has a default value. Like for instance, initialize tape, you can actually say check no, right? Pre-check or check no. So you can say yes as well. You can change the default to yes, right? So basically when you change it, this command, every time you run it, it will change to the default of a newer value. Okay, so this is what it means, change command default. You can change the command default, the parameter default actually. So again, recommendation for changing an IBM supply command. So if you say you can use a change proxy command, or you can change the original command, right? It's up to you. And in the old days, what we do is we typically create a duplicate object to keep the original one, and then put and rename it, and then you create a new one, then you can change all the default, right? So this is where all these things are about. So you create a duplicate of the old one, and then you use the new one to change the command or command default. And is why okay, one more thing is we recommend you to all the command that you change, we recommend you to have a CL program and put down all those changes in here. Create duplicate, let's say sign off. You say you want to delete a command called sign off. You create duplicate object, right? And you do all these things in a CL. Why? Because as and when the new OS upgrade or release, right, all these command will be override. So then you may not remember which command you have changed, right? Or the command default you have changed, right? This is change command default. So if you have a CL program that do this every time you did an OS upgrade, right? Every time you perform OS after you did the OS upgrade, you can rerun this CL program and change back all the default so that you will not left out anything. Yeah. Okay, moving forward, we are going for the system reply list. What is the system reply list? As I explained earlier, a system-wide reply list is where it will send a message, for instance, printer, right? It will send a message there and wait for a response to an inquiry message. So the printer will prompt you, if the print file, most of the print file has a form type standard. If you have a print file that have a form type strict reply, right? Then the system will prompt for an operator message called please change form type reply, and they're waiting for you. So the answer is either G, I, or cancel, go, ignore, or cancel, right? They mean cancel the print, right? So this is what we call system-wide query message. So how a system reply list work? When a display, right? When this is a message operator, we have a message called ABC1221234 to the system operator in the message queue sequence operator, and it's an inquiry message reply, right? So this message will expect for a reply. If something expecting a valid reply, either 1234 or something else, right? After you reply, then only it continue. But you can actually, if you know that like yesterday, a valid reply value like AP library, payroll library, and INB library, so you can actually set that automatic reply in there. And once they got it right, the message is being applied and executed. So you do not need to go to do anything, right? So the system operator here does not respond to the message. The system reply list does this. So the system will help you to reply that message by itself. So how the inquiry message reply attribute is specified? It can be in the interactive job description, a change job, on batch job. These three mode. Okay. How do you specify the automatic reply list? By using this command called work reply list entry, WRKRPYLE. So later on, I will show you this screen again. So you can see what are the reply lists that we have actually customized, right? So work reply list entry is where you have everything. Okay. So, okay, there are reply column of the system reply list, meaning that you can reply all this, like for instance, yesterday there is a reply list, let's say CPF39 asterisk, right? So you can reply all this in that range, okay? The valid replies of an inquiry message. Okay, here you go. So you can add a message to the reply list. Let's say this is a CPA4002, right? And this message is expecting, again, this is a printer message, ignore, go, and all this part, right? So you can actually add replies entries as a sequence. Let's say CPA402, compare the data. Let's say this data is called account print report 21, right? So you can reply request like that. So and then you can put in the next one, the following sequence. If this is CPA002, reply default. You can reply the default and answer for it, right? Again, another error message called CPA3387, and this printer is not very available. So the default, you can see the default entry is C. Just now this reply default, right? The default is I, so it will reply ignore. So add replies entry 120. So this follow a sequence. If this is a message ID called CPA3387, I'll reply default. The default is cancel, meaning you don't start the printer, you don't care, right? So now again, remember just now I said the load form type. Most of the time, this reply message are related to printing. So load form type standard in this PRT writer PRT. So the default is hold. Hold means the printer will hold and will not print. You have to release it. So again, you can say reply or add the reply list entry 130 because we have 110, 120, 130. CPA 3394. Compare the data. If this is the print CRT01 and with this 41, so I reply ignore, just go ahead. So similarly, if there is not this one, you can say I reply everything by the request default, which is hold. I don't care, right? Just hold it. So once you do that, remember the default here is only up to 40. So now you start this thing, you add 100, 110, 120, 140. So these are the new message ID and your reply, and whether you do a dump and compare value and so forth. Okay. So let me pause here. Okay, let me just continue this one here, then I will do all the demo in the screen one shot. And I will look at your question short while. It's not propped out immediately, right? So I'll finish this thing. I'll answer your question and I'll show you the demo. Now looking at attention program and disconnect job, right? This is very interesting. As mentioned in the old days, we have this we call IBM's keyboard. You know, I'm not sure whether have you seen in IBM 5250 terminal, right? And its keyboard. The keyboard is very lasting. I think it can last 40 years without any problem. The spring and how you touch and feel it, you know, the sound is fantastic. So it's very robust and lasting. And there is one key called attention key, which you know, as a user we like it. Right? So the attention key can be customized or tailored to what program you want to trigger. Of course, by itself, it has a help menu come out, right? Later, I'll see what we do. I'll show you this attention key. We have this in the virtual keyboard mapping. So the next one is disconnect job, as I explained. So when you get out for lunch in your Windows, right, you can actually have your lock screen. So this is the same thing. You lock your screen. So when you execute your payroll program, then time for lunch, you issue this command called disconnect job, or you can set the attention key as disconnect job. Then the AS400 sign-on screen pops up. So when you finish your lunch, you come back, you log in again using your user ID and password. You will prompt back to where you left out, right? Where you left off just now, your screen or your process, okay? Your data entry. Okay, I think I better show you a demo first before I do the printer. Okay, let me see your question. Okay, is MFA free? No, MFA is not free, but it's fairly, what I say, it's a toolkit. It's not expensive. It's quite affordable to have it. Okay. The second question: how do I differentiate? Okay, sorry. Let me answer you the first one. If you're interested for MFA, please talk to CBS, and they can liaise, you know, with you how do you get it, right? The second question: how do I differentiate the message has been replied by system and operator? Well, this is a straightforward question. Go and display the message, either sys operator or the system one, most of the in sys operator. You have to roll up and down. If a message is left unanswered, it doesn't have any message, you know, prompt screen there. You will see the message in the protected screen, right? If there is a screen that still allows you to enter your message or reply, that message is unanswered. Okay, one by one first, yeah. Okay. So basically, when let me show you a command first, yeah. Initialize tape, right? This is we are going to go into something called a change command default. So I'm going to show you what happens. When you when you have this command called initialize tape, right, you press F4. So you notice that check for active file, the default value is yes, set for yes here, right? So basically what we normally do as a user, we say I go to initialize tape, I put my tape 01, I will hit enter. The rest is all the standard default, so I don't care. But what if you already change your tape drive, right? So you have a very interesting tape drive that you have a different capacity, right? You follow a different device type, right? So in normal sense, normal circumstances, you can say device type is okay, but sometimes our LTO drive, right? We are actually putting in a different capacity, LTO4 or something, right? So in here, then you can specify a default, and you've been used for that quite often because your tape drive now you buy a different capacity. So then you cannot use a default type. So you have to change to one of these valid 25 GB or 7 GB, right? So by default, maybe your FMT 7 GB based on the device type. Now you have to change to 5 GB. So instead of every time you key in yourself, you can actually change this parameter default. So this parameter default is called density, right? But now I'm not going to change this now. What I do is I want to change the check to no, right? So now the default is check yes. So I want to change the check to no. So how do I do that? F3, change command default, right? F4. So what I do is I've set initialize tape, right? Thing, and the new default parameters. So I'm going to say check no. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I change the check to no. Now let's go back to initialize tape again. I press an F4. So you notice that the check for active files now become no, right? You see that? 1, 2, 3, 4. The check has become no, right? So this is how you change a command default. Let me change it back to yes here. Okay. Oh, now the check active files is back to yes. Right. This is how we do that. It's very easy to do. Okay. Now the next one is where now I will work with members. Let's say I'm a developer. I'm doing this thing, right? So again, I do editing of this thing. This is where I am. So now suddenly lunchtime, people just come to say, Jason, let's go for lunch. I'm doing this halfway, right? So I'm just coding this program halfway, and Ching Ban kind of go for me, hey, let's go for lunch. Well, so I have to go immediately because it's my boss, right? So okay, what do? I can actually prompt up your screen here, right? Command line. I can issue this command called disconnect job here, and I hit enter disconnect job. Whoa! So now the screen is locked, right? Whoever come in, the next person come in, log in their ID, it will pop into their IDs and screen, and no issue. But if this is Jason Tan again, like after lunch 1 hour, I come back here, I put in Jason Tan and put in my name here, right? Enter. It resume where I stopped at, right? Let me show you again. I create another user because this is not my system. It's just a system. I create another user. I create another user here for Jason, right? Again, created that. Let me disconnect job, right? So now I log in as Jason Tan 2. Oops. Sorry, I think I put in the wrong password. Too fast. Okay. Yeah. So see, this Jason Tan 2 come in and log in. It's not where I left out just now, right? It doesn't go to the developer menu, right? And the user can do whatever they want when they sign off. Now Jason Tan come back again after lunch. Okay, where am I? You go back to where I left out just now. Right, this is pretty cool, right? Even your Windows PC cannot do that. Your Windows PC, you lock the screen, you come back, is the same screen. But this hide your individual user, right? And this user login back again, it go back to where it stayed, right? So it's very, very cool. Let me delete that, but this is not my system. Okay. So the same thing with reply list entry, right? I cannot remember the command, no problem. I put extract here. This is where you go. So this system have 10, 20, 30. So this is how the reply list is being applied. So I can go in and change it and see what happened. So this message reply a cancel. This message CPF 5737, right? So that's about reply list. That's about change command default. Okay. Let's go back. Anything I left out? Give me a minute. Let me check. Is there anything I left out? I'm checking the other screen. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. Managing the writers and printing. This is what we talk about. Using multiple writer for an out queue. This is the same concept as I mentioned in the bank. Yeah, one queue, right, being served by 10 counters. So a single queue, it go by a round robin basis. So whichever printer free up, then the report will send over to that printer and following. So it go with a round robin mechanism. So why do we need to manage that? I'm not sure whether today organization is like the old days, whereby there's a lot of printing and so forth. But I don't think so, because I don't see many organizations still doing a lot of printing other than those in manufacturing, right? So how do you manage the printing by spool file size? So you can actually change that. The print out queue can have a maximum page of 100 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., right? A 15 page maximum for this printer from 12 to 1 a.m. From 1 p.m. Sorry, and then the remaining is 500 to 2004, right? So maximum 15 pages, 12 to 1 o'clock. Okay, 12 to 1 o'clock, 15 pages, right? 500 pages from 00 to 2400, sorry, from 12 a.m. to the whole day, maximum 500 pages, right? Okay, this is it's actually how do I say, contradict, because you specify all this thing here. Okay, basically what it means is the remaining days you can actually, remaining hours from the whole day, you can go to a maximum of 500 pages, but on this hours 8 to 5 you can maximum do 100, from 12 to 1 maximum 15. So basically this is the rules that you set for the out queue. Okay, so that's about the printing management. If you have any question, do post it and then I'll answer to you. But basically what it covers is pretty short for this print management, only 2 slides. Yeah. So following is actually the virtual optical image catalog. So what is the usage of virtual optical image catalog? So as I mentioned, we use it most often for OS installation, right? So instead of loading the DVDs, every single piece, and the OS will ask you, please load next DVDs, and you have to wait for it, and go in and reply a message, mount it, right? So you can actually do the automatic loading, right? So you can perform an OS upgrade or software upgrade, install PTF. Sometimes the PTF may come with multiple DVDs, right? So again, you can create these DVDs in different optical images. And also you can also install a single LPP. Like for instance, PowerHA, you may not have it now, and then you want to install it. So you can actually put that PowerHA into a separate image itself. And this is a big program. you can send this virtual DVDs from one LPAR to another or from one machine to another, right? So by using the command called FTP, right? So this is pretty straightforward. Instead of you loading this or switching the hardware, the physical DVD drive from LPAR 1 to LPAR 2 to LPAR 3, you can actually have a single repository mounted. We can use a network mount. You can do that as well. Of course, you can do a backup. So you can back up to your DVDs, right? Again, create a distribution media for central site support, exactly what I said just now. You can have a central OS repository for V7R3, V7R4, or PTF. So you can mount it on a network drive, and then you can actually install it using this remote install. Another one is actually you can create a safe license media. So how do we do this for most of the CBS engineer? This is something they do very frequent or routine. So you can create a virtual optical drive by create command called create device optical, right? You can name your device name. We typically call it VOPT01, right? If it's first one, and VOPT02 is the second one. So the resource name is very interesting. Is you do not need to tie to anything. You just put a straight VRT, and the rest you just leave it blank, right? And this will create a first virtual optical drive. Again, you can vary on this virtual. By default is off. So you use this same command that you do to vary on your workstation, vary on your printer. So it's called vary config, and this device name, and it's a device, and the status is on. So basically, you can just need to verify, specify these three parameters, right? And you can vary on that virtual optical device. How do you create image catalog? Now this is going to be in we call the IFS directory, right? So I'm going to create an image catalog by using a command called create image catalog, CRT IMG right? So I can give the image catalog a name, then it specify the called the IFS directory, right? Let's say I'm creating an image catalog for PTF, so I put a /PTF, then is where this here you don't leave it blank. You put in your PTF number, like PTF like SF99201, SF3312, and all this thing. So you put in your PTF number here, and then the image catalog type is optical. So then you will create a directory. Yes, right. So yes, you will create a directory that when you up here, it will give you that directory name that you want to create. Okay? So here again, so this is what it does. You create this image catalog, right? What happens if you add the image catalog? So you issue this command called add image catalog. Image catalog is where you put in just now the OS PTF, right? So under this OS PTF, and this is the PTF directory, and this is where the PTF number in the binary. And this thing you can actually download from the IBM online support website. Yeah. So this is the PTF number that you can get in, and this thing will be added into the optical image. Yeah. So how do you load it in? Basically, it's just when you say load the image catalog, means in physically, it's similar to what you mount a physical DVDs into the physical drive. So I'm going to load this into the virtual optical drive. So I say I load this image catalog called OSPTF, and option is load or unload. Unload means you unmount that, right, to this virtual optical device, and then you go. So you got it out mounted, right? So after you mount it, you can actually verify. You can build it, right? So you can say verify the image catalog is usable, right? There's no corruption during FTP, and this is a workable copy. So you can say verify image catalog, VOPT, this is a device, and then you can just do a check. No? Verify type is a PTF, this is a PTF stuff, or this is an OS, this is an upgrade. Okay. And this is where you can do a command called work with image catalog. So when you work with this image catalog, you will see that once the catalog is loaded successfully, you will see there is an OS image catalog name called OSPTF, and the status is ready, and you can actually start using a command called go PTF and up, using the virtual optical device to load this PTF in, right? Now, how do you load the PDF? Go PTF and you install this PTF license program, PTF program, and device is virtual optical. Here, virtual optical. So VOPT. Yeah, sorry. And then automatic IPL. This typical depends on whether the PTF needs to be IPL or not needed, right? And you specify this accordingly, and voila, you got a PTF run, right? So this is additional information. How do you create a virtual optical device? There are many redundant information. Let's say you want to do PTF upgrade, you want to do loading certain IBM group PTF. They also have the same instruction as what I just showed you. How do you create image? How do you create a virtual optical? And that set of instruction is there. So either you refer to this IBM training material or you refer to the IBM website. Yeah. Why we touch about FTP is the same thing. After you download from IBM those binary files and so forth, you need to update or we call upload FTP from your PCs. There are two ways to it. One is you directly, if your S1 is actually connected to the internet, allowed to access internet, you can directly update and to the S1, right? Otherwise, you have to FTP to your PCs or your workstation, then you FTP up to the S1. That's where FTP is needed, right? But what are we going to cover here is you not only FTP, if you look at here, this is FTP in and out from your workstation from PT. But FTP is not only upload and download from your to and from your workstation. You can to and from your AS4. You can be to and from to your other Linux or Unix operating system or even mainframe. This is what we use to do data transfer, right? So I believe FTP is something that most of you are familiar and probably know better than me, right? So how to do the FTP from the PC, right? So you issue this command FTP or SFTP, secure FTP, to the IBM IP address, IBM. Then the system will ask you for a user ID and password. So the user ID is called AD here, right? So then you issue the password. Then from there, after you get it logged in, so your ID is logged in successfully, that's where you want to upload a binary image, which is the, for IBM I, we use binary, right? So basically you upload or download the data using a get or put command to upload and download data, right? So here you can issue a directory, this command you call directory. It lists out everything in the IBM I, right? So you can see all this command Q, all this object. This is the IBM I. So the naming default is 0. You can change this. Naming default 0 means IBM I naming. So you can change to the IFS naming as well by typing the name called name format 0 or name format 1. If you change the name format 1 here, name format set to 1, so everything will follow the PC's format or Unix format, right? So the differentiator is a slash and a dot. You can see a dot here. This is the IBM I naming format. A slash is where the open system naming format. Okay. So how do you send or upload the data is by putting a command called put, right? A binary file, right? So you can shoot CD and those things. I believe most of you know, right? This is what you do. And then get is where you download the program, download the file or program or document. Okay. Now, AS400 to AS400. So you can do the same thing. From AS400, you just issue this command called FTP, right? The IP address. So it will prompt you the same screen as what you see on the PC, right? So now, because AS400 is using name format 0, so you will see that once you enter the user ID is called teacher, enter the password. So you see that the teacher has logged on. And now using format 0 by default, right, is using a v7r4. So the QGPL is the default library. So this is in the AS400 format, right? And again, you can change the name format 1 if you like to, right? You change the name format to 1. Now you will see everything in the client server is format 1. The target is also format 1. Okay. Now, how do you send FTP in batch mode? Meaning you're sending more files. You're not sending just one file, right? So AS400 can actually do that. You can create a CL program or a batch program. And what you do is actually, here's a CL program sample that if you like this, there is actually an internet from the IBM knowledge base that show you. So the input file and the output file and we call the response file. So what happened is, I'll show later. Yeah. So you can actually send multiple things, and also your user ID and password can be incorporated. So you do not even need to log in. So you can put in your user ID and password here and in binary, and then you can put all this. You just specify the put AS400 customer master to target AS400 master, and quick. So this thing can be in a batch mode that every day you do this. Let's say every day you upload and download to a target another AS400 system, or to the mainframe system, or to another Unix system, right? You can actually run this command on batch, and you do not need to do what you do here. Enter command, do it every day, key in the line, right? You can actually write a CL program, and this thing can do it in batch, right? It's pretty cool. The same thing like your PC batch file .bat, right? So the batch mode run. So you can have this call. If you notice here, there's something called I created something called FTP auto, a CL program. FTP input is where the input file, and FTP response file. It actually recorded whether this FTP is successfully or not successfully download or upload. So the FTP response file is where you can check whether this HTTP every day it has been running successfully. This is where how this thing is run and how the record is being kept. So that's why this is a text file, right? Some customer have worked with me closely to do a certain customization project, right? So I do write some of these utilities for them, right? So that they can actually view what has been uploaded or what has been copied using the same concept, right? So now we're going to the topic 7, advanced spoof management, right? Why we need to manage the spoof file? Every day, I think every organization has easily hundreds or thousands of spoof files generated. And as you probably know, every spoof file is a job in the system, right? It will actually slowly chewing up or occupy your memories, your disk space. So some customers have a 3 days spoof file retention. Some may have 7 days, and for certain department they want to keep for a few months to few years, right? So if you do not have archiving facilities, as you know, in the old days, AS400 cannot back up the spoof file. But as we move on to V6R1 and forward, I think we can actually save spoof file. You can actually back up your spoof files and restore it, and it remain or retain all the spoof file attribute. Right. So that is where we need to do features called spoof file expiration. Right. So you can in your program you can set the spoof file expiration date so that the operator can archive them or can remove them. Right. Once they reach the expire date. Okay. So when you do this create printer file, this is a programming thing. As I said, the developer can actually do that now compared to the old days. So you can actually specify the retention period of how many days, right? So so if you look at the whereby you can actually set the expiration during the create spoof file, and in the BMS as well, you can back up the spoof file, and you can actually look at the spoof file expiration view as well. Okay, in the BMS functions. Okay. So there is another new command introduced called delete expired spoof file. Once the spoof file, when you execute this command, whatever spoof file that actually expired in the system will get removed from the system. Okay. So basically, this is something that very cool for you to better manage. After you back it up, you can actually remove them. All right. Now this is the SSC and DSC advanced operator function for you to see the system log. how do you manage them and also clear those logs that's not needed. Okay, so for most of the time, IBM engineers or CBS engineer will come in here and help you to clear out your, we call the system error log, right? But for certain customers that have better managed, they want to monitor all their non-hardware reporting failure and all this thing. So what they do is they also come to here and print it out or manage it and clear it, right? So when we start an SSD service tools, right? So what you can do is you select options one, start a service tools. Then you can see the option one product activities and so forth and hardware service manager. This is where most of the time option 7 hardware service manager is where we look at the log, right? So, but for this purpose, right, we are not looking at hardware service manager, but we are looking at PAL. PAL means product activity log, right? So we will look at product activity log and you can actually select the option to look at all the subsystem data, right, from the date, that start date and an end date, right? This is where you analyze your system report and see what are the errors and what are the things that happen in the system other than the operator message. Okay, so here, this is where the log analysis report, right? So you will say there is a dump DMP001, DC, and all these are hardware error log, and you can actually go in and take a look. And you say a hardware failure occur on another system, or this could be a communication line system, right? So whether it's significant or not significant, like say if the class is info, it's okay. A dump means there is a more severe error. Okay. So the other one is for SAL, service activity log, right? So you start the service tools, you look at the SAL, right? Option 7. This is the one that we just now I mentioned. Go to the hardware service manager and look at the SAL. This is where we normally come in for most IBM guys. We come to this more often. And again, it's the same thing. You put in the date, and we will look at this is the part. What are the hardware failure here? So from here, we will determine whether this is crucial or non-crucial, whether we need to report a part or something to claim a warranty and so forth for you. Okay. This is where the service action log entries. And check this status, right? Well, this is more involved in the we call the service engineer task or the alpha configuration task, whereby we actually start the service tool and look at this unit option 3, and we can display this unit or work with this configuration, unit recovery. And option 9 is where we look at the disk path status. If you have the fiber channel card, we normally use option 9 to look at your disk path, whether you have multiple, fiber channel redundancy, right? Yeah, here is it. The disk path, the same hard disk, you have two. This number one, you have two paths, active and passive. This means that the fiber channel to your external storage have two paths. In the event one fail, the other one will take over. So you have active, passive. Some may even have to 4 if you are using a V7K, right? So every single unit of this, you have two paths here. Active, passive, active, passive. If one of these say fail or not active, then IBM will have to come in and quickly rectify the problem and help you to recover it. Okay. Okay, that ends the module. I would suggest we take a short break, right? 10 minutes break. Then, yeah. So we kind of overrun a bit, right? So let's take a short 10 minutes break and we come back and resume at 11:20. Is it okay?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Music.
Welcome back, everyone. There's a little bit of update here because earlier when I did the schedule, I actually make a mistake and I realized it. So what happened is actually there's a little bit changes of the schedule or the timing of today. We still do the same module, but what happened earlier was the exercise portion was not taken out. So I noticed that we have actually make a error there. So I quickly changed it just now. So the new revised timing for today, if you relook at it, we're still pretty much on time. So you notice that we have actually done this one and we took a break. So now it's somewhere around 11:25. So we will continue with the journaling overview, and this portion will take roughly 45 minutes to an hour. So we should be on our lunch break between 12 to 12:15, right? So probably then we will decide how long is the lunch break. Then from there, we will come back and resume the last portion of the today training, which is the virtual IP and virtual channel, which is around 45 minutes. And by then, we should be able to finish somewhere before 3 or 3 o'clock. Then we should have our closing by Mr. Lee, right? So this is a little bit of update of the timing or schedule for today. Once again, I'm sorry for the mistake because I forgot to take out the exercise slot from here. Let's talk about journal management. Journal management is a very valuable and powerful tools, which is part of the operating system. So if used properly or planned properly, it can be part of your comprehensive recovery plan, and it will significantly improve your system administrator ability to recover from many types of jobs or in the event of a system failure, right? So after completing this unit, right? So we will show you how journal management can be used to recover data loss in the event of failure, right? And how do you implement journal management on your existing or your future IBMI as part of your recovery plan, and also the advantages and considerations of journal management. Just excuse me. Just FYI, this journal management is required if you are, of course, you probably know for those customers that uses Mimix or some other they call recovery management tools. Those journals already apply or handled by this recovery tools. This is a complement that in the event that you have something else that not managed by it, or you do not have a Mimix tools and you want to have better control or better recovery, then this is where the OS itself has this thing. Basically, Mimix and other recovery tool users will leverage the OS capabilities and make enhancement on it. But if you do not have it, you can still do it on your own. Okay. So the data is where is our important day-to-day we call it asset, right? So we have to protect our asset or the data, no matter what in organization that we look for. Right? So what happened if it disappeared or something corrupted or accidentally deleted, right? How do you get it back? Of course, one way is we get it back from our backup using a command called restore object, right? Another way is you cannot find it from, you do not have a backup, right? Then there's the worst case whereby you have to look for your hard copy and you key in all this data from where it from the last known good data, right? And how much time it would take? Probably it could be little, it could be very lengthy, right? So if you have a SLA that you have to shorten or recurring time for data files, right? Then you have to find a better way to do it. Right? So the challenges of IBM I is there is a lot of question being asked. In PCs or other Unix system, there is something called undelete. I'm not sure whether even on your Windows or your Mac OS or your current workstation, if you actually delete a file or even on your SD drive or SD card in your memory, right? If you delete a file, there is a recovery tool that called undelete that you can actually undelete those files, and there are high chances that those data may still be there. But for IBM I, we implement something called single level storage. A file is being write to every single disk in a fragment. So you do not know which fragment is in which disk, right? So when you delete that file or when you update that file, there is no way that you can recover it using an undelete command, right? So this is the one part of the IBM I. You can say it's a security measurement, and you can say it's a downside, right? So basically, anything that being removed in the system, there's no way that you can recover it, right? So how do we protect it, right? So the only way to protect it is actually via these features called journaling. So when a program delete, update, or write to a file system, to a physical disk, it write to a journal. We call it the journal receiver, right? So the journal receiver keep track of what are the data that being touched on file A, being removed from file A, or being updated on file A, right? So that ensure that you have, instead of the original file has a set of data, the journal receiver also have a set of data that what has changed. It tracks the changes of the file, okay? So how does this work? So it trigger the, we call it object protection. So when you say, well, I want to have object A, object B to be journaled, right? So whenever a program, a user using a DFU or whatever, when you touch this object, the object will have, the data will be actually recorded in the journal receiver, right? So I don't care program Y, program X, which program or which user touch this data. So as long as you touch and update the data, the journal receiver will actually keep the changes. So object A changed by program A, object B change, object C change, and changed by who at what time. It's all being recorded in the journal receiver. So what are the objects that can be journaled? The object that can be journaled is actually your access path, which is your logical front, your libraries, your object, data area, data queue, your physical file, your IFS object, meaning the PC files that you saw, the stream file, the directory, the symbolic link, right? If you are using SAP or other web shielding or Java stuff, you have a lot of this IFS object here. And this also can be journaled and protected. So how do you see a journal file? You can actually use this command called display journal entries. So from here, you can see the sequence of this code, right? And these are all in code open, close, open, close. So the customer master file in AS27, right, has been opened by who and has been opened and closed. And these are the series of actions that's happening and touching the system. Okay? And you can display further the customer master just now, which is the customer master. You can put a 5 there and display an entire entry, right? So you can see that this entry here in sequence number 22, which is this one, right? Sequence 22. So in this sequence 22, you can see that the entry of the customer master data and so forth, and these are the detail of it, right? So the member is being opened, right? And what is the status during this file, right? So you can zoom down further on this section, right? On this time, right? And what has been done? It has been touched by what job, right? By which devices, by which user, right? So this provide you an entry, and if you want to have even more detail for this is for data recovery purpose. Yeah? This is not for security, right? For security purpose, we have another log for security log. Yeah, just to make sure that you guys do not use it for the wrong reason. Okay. Step to implement journaling. Right. So first thing is actually you need to create a journal receiver. A receiver means is a container to keep all the changes. And then you create a journal. Journal means you create specification to tell them what object you want to protect. Right. So you create a journal. And then after the first step and second step, then you start journaling the object. You select the object that you want to be journaled in the journal specification file. And of course, the last is you save the object, right? So basically, the step is pretty simple. Now, I have to say that among all the IBM I stuff, these are the one that I touch the most less because I'm not very actively involved in what we call the Mimics supports or all those recovery support. The time that I use this journal most of the time is for error checkings and for data recovery. So to be frank, you probably notice that these are the part that I will actually show or explain less because of my experience. But basically, I will try my best to share with you how do we do this. It's actually not very difficult. For most operators and we call the operator, what we need to do is actually to ensure that we save and create this journal properly and ensure that our data protection is in place, right? But if you want me to show all those recovery stuff, those are the things that you require. We call customized tools to read the journals and manipulate it, right? So offhand, I do not have it, but normally I work very closely with my recovery team back in Rochester, whereby as and when there is a recovery happen in the region in ASEAN, we normally fly into the customer place and do this part of the thing called journal recovery or journal tracking and see what happened to the system. So the first thing is actually create a journal receiver. This is a sample screen of journal receiver. So I create a journal receiver called journal receiver 001 and I store in the library called demo library AS2700, right? And also the threshold, you can specify what are the entries threshold, and it's full, you automatically detach and the next one will come in place and so forth. Right? So this is the second part of the step that you create journal definition, we call create journal. And the journal receiver is the first one that we did. We have actually created just now, right? And you can remove most of the thing before. So now you want to journal what are the log that you want to do, right? SS path command, start journal, SS path. For this SS path, you want to log the level of errors, okay? So what I want to journal, which file? I want to journal the file called customer1, CUST1, right? And AS2700, okay? And I recorded in the journal called AS27JRN, which is this one, right? And the receiver is this one, okay? So of course, the rules, right? You can put in these rules here and the logging level errors, right? So basically, you take most of the thing default, you can notice that. And that's how you start. And then you can start putting the second object you want, or you can put all. For me, the reason why I'm not so specific is because most of the AS400 database now we are using SQL. So the journal is actually done automatically, right? I'll explain a little bit more later on. So these are the one that for conventional AS400, whereby you create a file called create physical file, create logical file. Those files or objects are not journal by default. But if you are using the AS400 SQL command, create tables, create schemas, all these things will automatically journal into we call the schema journal receiver. And you do not need to come to here at all. Not even need to come to here and concern about all these things, right? But for the legacy part, or the old one, the slightly older thing that whereby our developers, our programmers do this using create physical file, create logical files, and those objects that not in, for instance, IFS, that not being created in the modern way, then you have to come in here and do all this journal yourself. Okay. Again, you add in another file called the customer master. So you basically have to either put an asterisk on that entire library, or you have to select every object that you want to monitor one by one. So kind of tedious, but as I said, so the modern ways is actually when you create a schema, the system automatically journal it for you. You do not need to worry about whatever inside. It's just journal by default, and you can remove them manually. Right. One is create everything, remove those that are unwanted. This one's add in everything manually. Right. And the IFS object command, this is the one that you have to do it manually now because the system do not do the journal automatically, like when I say the database schema. This one you have to come in and do the journal of the folder by itself, and you have to come in here and do the journal. Right. And this one is using we call the open system naming format. Right. So how do you do this on the IBM I Navigator? So this is a graphical way to do it, right? So you can come to the journal management on the IBM I Navigator. Again, this is a browser way, and put journal management, and you select the library that you want to journal. Like for instance, this case is AS400, and then it will pop out all the objects inside this library. Okay, and so what you do is you put in you select the object that you want, right? You put journaling, okay, and this is where you start the journal for this object. Okay? So, and then you can select for this entry, this object, omit open and close entry. I mean, you will just not care about open and close, right? So one is using the graphical way, the other one is using the manual way. As you notice, these are manual one. This is we call the graphical. Okay. So when do you start saving object, right? So when you save, what you need to do by practice is after you do the start journey of a new member is added to file, you should actually start journaling, right? And how do you do the checkpoint recovery, right? So certain things like when you do the save, you have a last known good copy, right? So when you start the journal, that is what you call a sync point, right? So you can restore that save object, then whatever you start journaling, you can restore from the journal transaction or journal logging, right? So this is where we call a checkpoint for recovery, right? Restore the damaged object, and then you apply whatever journal changes from the last save. And this is where it gives you a very clean cut to actually get from, we call the golden copy, and then apply the journals or all this journal transaction. And that is where you have the minimum loss of data, right? So must have the system assign a journal identifier in every save member used for recovery and after recovery. This is where you name your your backups. Okay? So you name that so that you can easily identify them and you know which copy of the save sync point you can restore during that moment of we call recovery point. So journal receiver consideration, right? So you can actually manage the receiver chain, right? So you can change it. So for instance, a journal receiver will reach its transaction full. So what happens is actually you can change the receiver to a current receiver or new receiver, right? So this is where you manage the receiver chain. So as I said, the journal receiver can be full. Once it reaches a threshold level that's specified by you, it will automatically unattach the old one and then attach a new one, create a new receiver and attach to it. So you can say the sequential option is continuous or reset. So just now when I mentioned the threshold, so the receiver once it reaches threshold level, it changes automatically and the message will send and the system again, when you IPL the system, the receiver change automatically with the sequence number reset. So most of the time we don't IPL the system, so basically you don't have a receiver change that frequent. The receiver change most of the time is because when you reach the threshold level. Right? Again, when you actually have that, you can actually delete that receiver. This is where when you create a journal, you can actually specify that you want to delete the receiver, yes. So detach the receiver automatically and delete as soon as it is not needed for recurring purposes and a rollback or mitigate changes. So this have to be careful when you specify delete receiver, yes, it will delete automatically and without sending the usual inquiry message. So most of the time, we actually manage them and we specify the receiver no, but you have to manage it yourself. Okay? So when you specify delete receiver, yes, it actually uses the journal for commitment control or explicit access path protection. Right. So again, this you have a double protection because this journal receiver is also being replicated through a remote journal. That's where only then you specify the journal receiver as yes. Okay, so this is where a journal receiver change when it reach certain threshold number. This is called the receiver 07, right? So when you reach the level, you will say journal receiver change, right? You have a receiver number 8, and it's actually linked to 7, right? You can see how this thing. So basically, you have a change here. Change means it is linked up. Okay. Work journal attribute commands. Right. This is where you can see the attribute of the journal. Right. What is this being specified? Right. Basically, you look at the attribute status. Right. So a journal receiver will send the when you have the change threshold and noticing detached, it will send to this Q6 OPR. Right. So the journal type is local. You can have remote journal as well. Right. For remote journal entry. Right. So this journal status is active, meaning that this journal receiver is still active and still attached to journal 27, AS27 JRN is running. And the journal currently journal 6 object. You can see that it has journal 6 file. And the maximum of the journal can journal up to 250,000 object, right? So this is how the journal current status. So you can know this journal is currently monitoring 6 objects. Okay. So now we can look at the receiver directory, right? So you work with receiver directory on this journal AS27 JRN, right? So you can look at the size in kilobyte. So basically it helps you to estimate how big is this journal receiver, right? So I have the first one online and I have the second one on standby attached. Okay. So I have the first one is still running. Okay. We will skip this exercise. Basically, as we said, we do not have the exercise here. Right. Just a minute. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. I tell you what, because some of the presentation material actually in the lab. Let me just probably we will end this session earlier. What I do is during the lunch break, I try to see whether I can create some of the lab exercise as a demo for you, and we will resume later on. Whereby I'll use some time to showcase how do you look at the journals and what I have just run through with you in the live demo portion. All right. So my apologize here because the material I think is not really in great detail to show you. It basically just provide you an overview. What I prefer to do is actually I prefer to show you this thing in the actual live screen, which normally it cover in the exercise. So what I do is I try to create those exercise for you again, right, in this short 2 hours, and we probably take 5 or 10 minutes to go through that. Yeah. So I think we have this session ended much slightly 10 minutes earlier. So we probably resume a time that we all agree. Over back to you, Ching-Ban. So we have to decide whether we will come back at 1:30 or 2 o'clock, or maybe 2:30. Yeah.
No, today is Friday. I think we come back at 2:30. The next session is only 45 minutes. Hello, Jason. Can you hear? Hello. 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 Can you hear or not? Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We will start at the 2:30 today, Friday. They will have to go for a break.
Yeah.
So that the next session is only 45 minutes, ma.
Yeah.
Correct. So the 2:30, we have enough 45 minutes. You probably finish by 3 past before 4. So
Okay.
So everybody will come back at the 2:30 lah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Question posed on days one, just in case I miss out any of the question. So I'll just go through that with you guys again, so that we ensure that we cover everything. Okay. So there was a question that being asked in day one, which I think I have answered. But anyway, we just go through them again, just in case any of the answers I have not answered them. Right. The question is, what is the AS400 database name? DB2 or DB400? Well, the answer is DB2400. This is the official IBM reply. Right. The second question is, my OS version is V7R2, and what is my database version? Right. And how to check my database version? So the answer is the OS 400, or we call it DB2400, always follows the version, always follow the OS version. So you will have let's say your OS is running on 7R2. So the answer is you're running on DB2400 V7R2. Of course, there is another one variant which we hardly talk about. It's actually in every middleware or DB2 on IBM I, you have something called a group PTF. A group PTF for DB2400, there will be a group level 1 to 19 or whatever, based on the date that IBM released it, right? So that will show you the functionality of the DB2400, okay? So any date on release Power 10, there was mentioned. And what is a maximum OS level can run on it? Okay, the answer is we will announce, IBM has already announced that on second half 2021, the new Power 10 will be released, available for purchase. To be precise, it's actually 4th Q of 2021, IBM will ship the machine. So there are already customers that pre-booked this machine, right? So yeah, for Q 2021, IBM will send this or deliver this machine to our customer. Now, what is the maximum OS? I do not have the answer for maximum OS, but I do have the minimum OS. So the minimum OS based on our trend will very likely be V7R4, right? So we are still waiting for V7R3, whether they will support V7R3 on the Power 10, but we are pretty sure V7R4 will be the one that's supported, okay? The question number 4 regard to multi-processing shared pool, meaning it will be dynamically reassigned, reclaim all the CPU resources when there's a need for the LPAR, which managed by WLM or via HMC. For power machine, we do not have WLM, we only have HMC. So what happens is this processor, when it's dynamically moved, is actually moved in a staggered manner. So it will be dynamically reassigned and move bit by bit until the system get all the location, right? So for instance, if you want to move one CPU to the LPAR that you desire, the CPU is not instantly move one, but it will gradually increase bit by 0.1, 0.1, and go in there and in a more staggered manner. Okay. Number 5, during the dynamic reassign reclaim, what will be the lag time before it can be reassigned or reclaimed to take into effect? And this is actually quite subjective. For CPU and RAM, as I mentioned, is actually almost take effect instantly, but on a staggered manner, right? But for physical adapters, I will explain a little bit more in a subsequent question. It depends on how the physical adapter is being reassigned to a different LPAR. Okay. What will be the minimum and maximum of CPU swing and the CPU quantum in unit? So the minimum and maximum, minimum is 0.1. For a maximum of each LPAR, we do have a hard code, or we call or ceiling numbers, which for any LPAR, most of the time is maximum 32 core, right? 32 CPU. But there are exceptions for customer like a bank. We do have bank in Indonesia and in Philippines. That actually larger than we have in Singapore and Malaysia, that they need more than 32 CPU. For instance, they need 48 CPU on a single partition, LPAR partition. Then IBM Lab Services will go in and justify whether do the customer really need more than 32 way, because 32 way is actually the we call the most optimum. And if you want to do more than for 32, you will have to ensure that your application, all this thread can leverage the above 32 thread level. So lab services will go in and make a study of the system, and if it's find that your system can make use of the extra 33, 34, all the way to 38, 48, then IBM will provide you a key to turn on or enable the LPAR to have more than 48 CPU, right? More than 32 CPU, right? The minimum quantum of the CPU movement is 0.1, okay? Will it cause any joke to the LPAR when the CPU resource reclaim process? When you move, or realign resources, CPU or RAM, right? It's very unlikely, because what we have in the LPAR profile is we do have a minimum and maximum for this LPAR, and the processor is being moved in a staggered manner, right? So all these things will be, we call, graciously moved bit by bit. Okay. So during the CPU contention period, how the CPU allocation for all the LPARs based on their defined entitlement initial allocation. So answer is all alpha has a sign with the desired CPU location. Let's say there's a minimum and maximum, then what is the desired number? So for alpha that have an uncapped alpha, then when the system need more, then what happens is the HMC management will see, is there any unused CPU and memory in the uncapped in the pool? If there are, then this extra will flow, extra CPU capacity or RAM capacity will flow in graciously into the LPAR based on the LPAR weightage, right, which is a 28 LPAR weightage pool defined the LPAR setup, right? So question number 9, can we dedicate which LPAR to be managed by the WIC or via HMC, or which LPARs are not being managed, but has to be secure and guaranteed for CPU? The WLM is actually being introduced in the mainframe term. So for us, we are actually all LPAs are actually being managed by the HMC, and with secure and guaranteed system resources allocated, right? Unless you power down that LPA, then those resources will be free up in the, we call it free memory pool or free CPU pool. Okay. Can we do a staggered reclaim instead of single? Yeah, the movement of CPU and RAM resources are always in a staggered manner. So this one is also being answered previously. Is there any immediate soft, orderly, or OS shutdown? Right, I did show you the HMC. There are actually 4 options available, right? So in a gracious or hard reset or hard shutdown, right? Now I need a little bit of CFIA's clarification. I'm not too sure about what is meant by CFIA here, right? So if you can give me the more detailed definition, I'll come back to you. During the physical I/O slot installation and activation, is it a concurrent process with dynamic activation? The answer is yes. The Power 7, actually most of the power server that we have, starting from Power 5 onward, you can add the physical adapters to the hardware concurrently. We call it a physical I/O concurrent. So our engineers will find out which slot and add or remove those adapters dynamically and concurrently without shutting down the server or LPA. So once this physical adapter is being added in, you can assign them to the LPA. And if the LPA is being assigned as desired, then the movement is subject to how it's being assigned. If this is desired, you can move and assign dynamically. But if the physical adapter is being specified something called a required, so requirement, you cannot simply move that resources. It has to be shut down IPL. So that requirement that HMC will not allow you to move that physical adapter when the system is up and running. Okay. So what's the current version of ACS? My current is 1.1.82. The current version, as for IBM website now, is 1.1.8.5, which released on August 2020. Could we get the LPA history performance from HMC? LPA history, if you talk about the performance history, the answer is yes. The HMC do have a live, performance data. You can see the live view from the browser, the HMC browser, and you can actually export it to your monitoring software. And again, in the HMC, you can actually set it for a maximum retention period up to the 7 days. Okay. So yes, you can actually work on the HMC and get this performance data. But bear in mind, it's not it's unlike our performance collection. You can keep months or weeks. This one is only up to 7 days. Okay. This question is a bit long. A TCOT activate process. Basically, what it's trying to do is actually you want to see from 9 o'clock and then deactivate at 11:20. Right, and then again based on different time from 12:10 and then deactivate at 10:30. So basically you're trying to realign or move the CPU, right? What you can do in layman term, in the HMC there is actually a scheduler. You are able to schedule the assign and reassign based on the schedule that you put in specify in the HMC dynamic resource movement. There is a schedule option there that you can actually do this. For LPA 1, what time you want to have 3, and then after that you want to realign that. Basically, all these are capable of doing it. Right? The question, section 2, question 01. Can we have 2 physical HMC? 1 unit for production and 2 unit, second unit for DR side, both accessing the production CPU. The answer is yes. You can have both the server HMC attached to HMC power server 1 in production, and the production HMC also attached to power server 2 in DR. And these 2 HMC can cross backup each other. You can have both cross backup each other. So as long as your network, IP network is able to, your HMC attached to the network that can see the FSP or the power server on the production side. There are many customers doing it as well. So yeah, each production of DR server have these 2 HMC attached to it. Now the second question, can we have 2 physical HMC with multiple virtual HMC? In the IBM term, a physical server can have a maximum of 2 HMC, be it physical or virtual, attached to this physical power server. So basically, you can only have 2, either a mixed mode of 2 virtual HMC or 2 physical HMC, or you can have a hybrid mode of 1 HMC, 1 virtual HMC. Okay. So the TCOT running meter is based on duration. It's actually based on, as we explained, is minimum of processor day. The minimum quantum is based on processor day. So once you activate the processor, it's regardless of 1 second or 1 minute, it will measure as 1 physical processor day, 24 hours. So other than TCOD, what other CODs are available? The elastic COD, right? And I think we have to refer back to the slide. We have a total of 5 options there, right? I'll send you the chart. Okay, basically, we have the COD capacity on demand. Capacity upgrade on demand is actually mean that you can upgrade the capacity as and when you need it, right? And there is a TCOD, a try capacity on demand, whereby you have a 30 CPU days to do it. But this TCOD is not temporary, the try COD, right? Okay, so of course, we'll come back here. TCOD running meter is based on duration. Again, this is a repeated question, right? Basically, we don't care. We actually, as long as you're on the time zone at +8, you're here in the we call the Malaysia or KL time zone. Those daylight saving things are not into any consideration. So as long as we turn it on, right, you will check, and that will consider as 1 physical day. So there is a daylight saving of ±1 hours, and when you cross that, we don't care. It's just based on that cross of that particular day. Okay. Is there any equipped security alert if there is a violation of threshold reach? Again, the threshold we call security alert can be defined. You know, you can be like, for instance, if one turn on the we call sign-on attempt failure into this Q audit journal audit, right? You can actually turn on many type of security alert, a file access alert, you know, a physical device being removed, and so forth. It'll be recorded in our audit journal, and this audit journal can be streamed to our online security monitoring tools like Splunk or this external thing like SIEM, right? So we call it syslog. So the right term is called syslocking. So in V7R4, syslog is come free together with IBM I. If you want to do syslog before V7R4, you have to pay lab services to get it enabled. There is a toolkit that we make it available, but V7R4 is entirely free. Right. Can the MFA be set up? Yes, MFA, this term is multi-factor authentication. Yeah, it can be easily set up on any OS V7R1 above, and require the engagement of lab services team to get it done. As far as I said, this is not standard OS feature, so we will install a toolkit to get it enabled. The MFA, is it a global setting or you're allowed selected by user group? The answer is all. You can have the global, or you can have a selected privileged group, or it can be individual. So you can have the one of the bank in Singapore, they say, I do not want MFA for all my other users. I only want it for my IT users. And then in the specific IT group as well, they are all the guys that handle the user creation, administration. So I want this group of IT users that system admin guy, that only them can, I need them to have additional MFA. So every time they add a user or remove a user, there will be a one-time password of the 6-digit being generated and sent to them. Then only they can add or remove a user. So all this is possible. Okay. What's the best way, question 17, what's the best way to copy, place file to a folder? There are many ways, as long as there's the, it's actually very subject to individual preference. For me, I will probably do the ACS integrated file system, and I perform a drag and drop on those files to and from the IBM I. Question 18, to monitor SQL, under SQL monitoring, does this job utilize high CPU? The answer is, it's a backend job, so basically it uses very minimum amount of CPU cycles. So it just wake up on and off, then it will just capture the SQL statement. Question 19, what does it mean by library QTemp is a temporary object? Now, the library QTemp, every time when your user log in or sign in, every one of you will actually assign a QTemp library. It's actually in the memory. So as and when you log out from the system, whatever object in this QTemp tied to this individual, and this QTemp, your QTemp and my QTemp are entirely different. I cannot access your QTemp library. unlike a library called, let's say, payroll library, everyone attends to it and they will see common object there. But QTEM is tied to individual or individual job. So I will not able to view your QTEM and you are not able to view my QTEM. And if it's a job that submit job, if a job submitted to run at the back end, that job will have its own QTEM and no one can access that QTEM library. So when the job is ended or someone is locked out from the system, whatever inside there will be gone. So that's the reason why we say whatever object placed in library QTEM will be disappeared once the user sign off or the job ended from the system. Okay, so this is what we mean by a temporary object. Okay, is there any quick security alert if there are? This is actually the same question being posed. Some of these three questions, all these three questions are all repeated. So so I'll just skip. Okay, question 23. If both system account and service 2 user account log out in the single LPAR, how to re-enable and reset the password? Well, the correct answer is you can contact IBM. Our engineers actually have a way. Actually, I show you guys as well. You can go to the key 21. If you have a physical hardware in the old days, you need to have the computer with a key inserted to the system, and then you press the system option 21. And there inside there is a way to reset the system password, right? But for HMC via LPAR again, in the HMC remote control or control panel, you can actually enable the option 21, and that you have to go physically to the HMC console, or you can do it on your console in the ACS. Then our engineers or our help desk people would guide you through. Of course, again, this is also subject to your organization's security guideline. Then from there, we will assist you to reset the password. Okay. Adopt Authority, where yesterday or the first day I showed you guys, there's a URL link, how this change program command being used to implement Adopt Authority, right? Can I block, question 25, can I block all object users to access specific file or specified file? The answer is yes, very easy. So at that particular object or file level, you actually edit object authority and you add in that particular user name with that, and then you specify you want to exclude the user, even though he has all object, you want to exclude him from accessing this object, right? Again, this is a repeated based on security. And by question number 27, by turning on the data encryption, what will be the CPU overhead incurred in the term of percentage? Again, it's quite marginal because the object access, as we understand, right, there will be a slight overhead during the handshake, meaning when the object is being attached, they will check through the field level of object authorization base, right? And then from there, once it passed the verification stage, then the system will, if the users actually have all access, then basically you have a full access mode. There's no overhead. If the user is actually say, okay, in the SQL mode in the database, for this user, you need to have masking. Then every line of code that pass to this user, the system will use a little bit of the CPU power to mask the data and send over to the users. Okay, so basically the overhead is actually quite minimum. Okay, yeah, that ended all the question for day one, right? So what I do is save this one. Okay, okay. Just now let's bring up this one. So you can see my day 3. So we have just finished one, and we touch a bit of the question now. So I will also touch about the journaling. Just now, remember, we don't have a lab, right? So basically, we just go through the presentation, and we ended the presentation about 10 minutes earlier. So what I do is I will show you how an object journaling is being done in a more easy manner, right? And how you view this, okay? How you view all those journal objects. Let me switch to the ISS. Guys, there's something wrong with my PCs here. Can you give me 2 minutes? I need to log out and log in again. Let's see whether I can do this. Can you just give me 5 minutes? Let me just log out and log in again to the system, because I think my screen is a bit overused. So I see multiple layer on my desktop. So I need to just reboot my PC. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll come back in. Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. While waiting for Jason to come back online, for those who are interested to be part of the forums, you are most welcome to put a chat. So I think we should set up our own forum for Malaysia, so that we have a better bargaining power with all the developers in the US. You see, currently the training given to us is also at midnight. You see? So if it's not available, even if we can afford it, it's also at midnight. You see? And the price coming is very expensive. So if we don't have big forums with many users to bargain, I don't think we're going to get many benefit. Just like a small political party not going to get any minister post. So we need to set up a forum that we can actually share among ourselves and look after ourselves. Yeah. For those who's interested, and I think some of the bigger financial institute who is using a lot of the AS400 one, probably you also wanted to put in your effort and help out in this forum. And I'm quite sure that there are some interesting topics that we can move on from elsewhere to here. Those are interested, you are welcome to send us the chat, or the email is the best, so that I can group everybody together. And then we get to know who have upgraded to the 7.4, who is planning to upgrade to 7.4. Then a lot of effort, we can actually share it instead of everybody go and do it on their own. So that when you encounter problem, nobody know how to solve it. Yeah. Bear in mind that we probably will be encounter many months that we don't have external support that can fly in. Yeah, so we have to look after ourselves. Yeah, actually, certain topics that could be only relevant to certain business where you probably were struggling with it. Yeah, and someone have done it successfully. But if we don't share with you, that the knowledge is wasted already. Whatever effort that he's putting in there. Yeah. So you can share it, then at least it benefit the next user group, is it? That's why we say give and take. We give first, we take later. So for us also same, that we will give first. We are willing to fund it first. Maybe we take it later, or don't take it also, never mind. It's okay. So we want more support from all the AS400 user to come forward to request even more material for us, is it? Should the user ask for material, is much easier, is it? So that the lab and the rest will probably willing to share. If you just ask, if you yourself ask for a material today by yourself, I don't think you will get it. Because so many people ask for it, IBM is okay to share it. I can tell you this PDF documents that IBM is going to give it to us. It's not easy to get, and it's not cheap. Normally at once, AS400 training costs about 3,000, 4,000 ringgit per person. So they will not simply give away the material. So, but when we can get more than 80 to 100 users altogether, it makes a difference. Okay? So I think it's very important for us to form this a forum, or put the effort together to train all of us, or those that who need to be better. Because we can have two types of group. One is more towards the hardware and operation. The other one is towards the development, programming, database, screen design, and so on, and interface to others. So there are two different groups which can be in the same forum. I'm surprised that Indonesia is ahead of us, you see. So I thought that in ASEAN we should be the champion, you see. So but we cannot lose out. I think we cannot lose out. We should actually continue asking for all the help from everyone to be there. And this day we don't need to have a meeting, a physical meeting. We can have a Webex meeting, is it? And we discuss it through the internet, through the email, or even WhatsApp, or whatever forums that we can find. And I think we should do that. That will help us. Actually, some people who wanted to install some PDF, and he also not sure whether he should do it or not do it. But if you have some guy in the forums that will get to know who already done it in Malaysia, you feel much comfortable to do it. Yeah. Actually, you encounter some problem, whatever problem, your MQ problem or what version MQ that you're having problem with the AS400, not everybody is using that, but you probably will be able to find some user that have the same interest or same usage on the AS400. And those who need the material, who need the certificate of attendance, who need the video, you can send the emails to the CBS event, CBS_event at cbs1.com.my. The email that send you the invite that at the bottom there that you register, you can just reply it and then say that you need those, and we will arrange to send it to you. Whichever we can get, we are going to share it out. Yeah. Just now, Jason talked about the journal. Journal actually will be able to help you to identify some people who, if you file a journal, it will be able to identify for you whoever that went through the back door to update. It also will be journal. So if it went through the back door and changed the record, then you also will be able to see in the journal there what is before the change and what's after the change. Or it came in from somewhere else, integration or FTP or whatever. But if you file a journal, also you will be able to find it. Purely on the application that you may not be able to find all these things. So even though you may go to the file and see the things, but you don't know where does it came from, what time does it came in, so you get to know all these things also from the journal. So journal actually help you a lot if you know how to read all those journal. Jason, you're back.
Okay. I hope you guys can see the screen now, right? The virtual IP versus the digital channel. Can you guys see the screen? Because for me, I have my screen is in blinking mode. I think I turned on my screen for the past 48 hours too long. We were actually working on.
See the screen.
You can, okay. That's
Can. We can see the screen.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot.
Okay, so this unit basically explain about the ether channel, meaning what is ether channel mean? You're using different we call physical adapters or Ethernet adapters, and bind them into one IP address. And also the other one is virtual IP address, meaning you're using multiple IP address to have one virtual IP address that did a round robin, right? So both have different we call usage or requirement, and we will explain these two. So how the ether channel work and how the virtual IP work. Okay. Right. So we must first go into the ether channel. We call this link aggregation sometimes. So what happened is in this scenario, you look at it, you have the communication card 1, 2, 3, 4. We call it CMN XX, CMN YY, and CMN CZ and W. So in this LPAR itself, the IBM-I actually has 4 physical cards, right? So you want to combine this when you create a line description. So what you do is you call this resource name aggregation. And what happens is you can bind one IP address, and this IP address will actually uses this 4 physical LAN card of we call physical LAN port. So why do we do that? Right. There are various reasons. One of the reasons I can share with you is in the event that there's one physical LAN card fail, right? You still have the other 3, and which will remain high throughput. Right. There's another usage of this is actually if everything are virtualized, meaning that you have 2 VIOS that provide a virtual Ethernet card here. So you can have one virtual Ethernet card from VIOS 1 tied to the physical card owned by the VIOS, and then you can have the second virtual Ethernet card here linked to the VIOS and then linked to a physical card. So as at any one time, when you want to do the, remember I said VIOS is being used for live partition mobility. So you can actually do not need to shut down the whole thing. And you can actually move the LPAR from one physical server to another physical server. And all these are being virtualized. And by doing link aggregation, you can actually have this, we call the benefit that in the event that you shut down one VLS or one server for maintenance, you can actually move this particular LPAR live to another one, and the IP address, everything is still same. You don't need to worry about it, right? So the entire LPAR is actually being shifted from one physical server to another physical server. But the original intent of link aggregation is basically for hardware failure. So any of these XX, YY, ZZW, any of this card fail, right? There is no interruption. There's no interruption of the IP address, okay? And there's no, the communication channel. So here you work hardware resources or work with hardware resources, strict CMN. You will see that you have CMN 5, CMN 6, CMN 7, CMN 8, right? So these are the LAN port, the card, the CMB 16, CMB 17. There's two card here. Each card have these 2 ports each, right? So for here, what we do is we probably assign 5 and 7 for the link aggregation, right? So here, what you do is you press, when you work with line description, WRKLIND, work with line description, there's already one with the physical LAN card. So if you press F6, right, you press F6, you create a new line description. So here, what I name it is, I name this new line description called new line, and the line type is actually Ethernet LAN. So you can see this is Ethernet LAN local area, right? So subsequently, when you hit enter, this further prompt will come up. So again, you already put in new line, and in the resource name here, that's where you put in different. You can put asterisk AGG link aggregation, right? And over here, there's one part here you can see my pointer that I specify CMN 05 and CMN 06. Where does this CMN 05 and 7 come in? Remember just out here, CMN 05, this is a port, this is a LAN port, and CMN 7, this is another port. So basically, these 2 ports are from 2 different Ethernet cards, from CMB 16 and CMB 17, right? So they are actually from 2 different cards. So I'm using 1 port from each card. So in the event that the card failure, or I want to change the card in future, right, there's no interruption on this LPAR, right? So basically, I'm using these 2, 1 port each from 2 physical cards, right? So once you create it, you hit enter here, and this line is actually successfully, this hardware Ethernet line, the line has been successfully created, and you put a 5 here display, and you will able to see the aggregated resource list, which means that you will see 2 LAN port here, CMI 5 and CMI 7, and one is down and one is up. Down means it's physically not running, not functioning. It could be the, we call, the physical cable are not plugged in, right? Or you can also go to two physical, the switches, so that you ensure that this two UTP cable, the Cat6 or whatever, that you actually attach to two physical different LAN switch. Okay. So here, when you work with the hardware resources again, asterisk CMN is hardware resources, asterisk CMN, then you will see line file is being created as a aggregation, right? So this is the line file resources that are being created as an aggregate resources. So that's how easy to, if you are, infrastructures or network guy in the, you want to create these new resources. So that's how easy to create link aggregation, right? But most of the time, you probably know these are created by IBM guys or by the business partner. So, but in future, if you want to do it yourself, it's nowadays it's so easy to create an LPAR. So you can actually craft out from the HMC and you create a test LPAR, you want to do any testing, and you can actually link them to your two VIOS and go through different physical card, right? So to prevent the failure or to do, we call live partition mobility, and these are all very easy to handle. Virtual IP is different. You have one IP that's being surfaced to the outside, or we call published to the outside, that you would like to have two physical IP address that round robin to it. Again, this can be two physical LAN adapters, or it can be, just tied to IP address, right? So when you shut down this virtual IP address, then no one will know. You want to mask your physical IP address so that when you vary off this virtual IP address, no one can actually access to your system, right? So to do this one, there are two ways as well. We are going for the easy way. Basically, we go to this, we call the IBM Navigator for I, right? Key address. And under network management, TCP/IP configuration and IP version 4. What you need to do is you go to IP version 4 and the interface. And what you do is in the action bar here, you click new interface, and there's a drop-down list called virtual IP, right? So you select the virtual IP, and then this window will pop up saying, okay, welcome to the new virtual IP interface wizard. And this wizard basically will guide you through. So you basically do not need to do anything, that you will just follow through the next here in the button. You click the next button, then basically what it will guide you through. So then you will have to put in your new virtual IP interface. Like for instance, this case, we are putting in 192.166.1.200 with the subnet mask of 255.255.255, right? And then after you have done that, you just click next, right? And this you say, do you want to start this IP every time when you start the TCP/IP communication, and you just go start using this command called start TCP/IP, or in your queue control system, you have start TCP/IP specified in the startup job. So every time when the system IPL and the system startup, this virtual IP will come up as well. So when you say yes, this will come up. And then do you want to start this TCP/IP interface now? This is where the first time configuration, the system asks you, do you want to start it now? If you say yes, then it will start as well. All right. So once you have done that, right, so you will have this new we call virtual IP interface. Then you click finish. Then this is where bring you to a next screen called test, right? You can click on this test button, test now, to test that this this virtual IP address is actually working, right? The next, you will see that you come back to the main screen, the TCP/IP version 4, IP version 4 interface here, right? You'll see a line name with the virtual IP here. So again, this is your new address, 192.166.1.200. But this is what you expose to the outside. So you expose to the outside. So all your outside people will only know that you have 200. You do not want them to access to your 10 and 11. Right? So there is an internal IP address that you use for 10 and 11 that you do not want them to expose to it. So now what you do is the next one is actually you bind this virtual IP to the 10 and 11. So how to do that is actually come here, you go to properties, right? And then from here, it will guide you through from the properties of this virtual IP address here just now, right? The 200, you click on the properties and then you click on it. It will bring you to this new screen here. And And here under the proxy ARB, you take the drop down list here and say what preferred interface you want to use, right? So from here, you can actually add interface. So from here, you can, this thing will pop up this new we call list of IP address that's available in the system. So what you can do is you can choose them. You can click select here and then do the add here, and then it will bring you to the right corner here. So you can add the 10. You already add the 11. So what you can do is you can add the 10 here. Once you have done that, you will see that you have two IP address, the physical IP address here, 10 and 11. All right. So basically, you want to use a round robin method that the virtual IP will assign either a round robin or is a hot failover, right? So over here. And from here, you can see once you've done that, you come back to this first, we call TCP/IP version 4 interface. And from here, you will see and also we call it associated interface. So here you will see this 10 and 11 here. And here, okay, one of the things is it will show the next screen. The next screen will show inactive. Just now, remember, just now in the previous test case, number 10 is actually down, right? The same case, if the 10 is being physically plugged out, you will see this guy is inactive, and this will show 11, right? So here it shows 10. When you unplug it, right? When you unplug the cable, then this thing will show 11, and this will show inactive. Okay. So this come back to the same thing as what we showed in the previous here, up and down, quite similar to this simulation. Okay, we physically unplug the cable, then it will show you. Okay, so how do you do this in the 5250 way? Just now we were using the navigator way, right? So you can also do this using change TCP/IP interface, this command, all right? And follow the same rules, 192.168.200. You can have this virtual IP here, the line description. And then from here, you can actually put in your preferred interface IP address, 192.166.1.10 and 192.166.1.11, right? And that's where you hit enter and things are done. So basically, this cover up the, how do you do ether, we call LAN aggregation and also virtual IP, right? IBM used to have the other name, right? We call it ether channel. So what I used to call it is called LAN aggregation. Okay. So if you have any question, do post it on the chat. Then now I'm going to move back because this covered the last module. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover, move back to we call the journaling. I'm going to show you how a journaling is being done, all right, from the real environment. Let's hope my screens are fine. Crossing my finger now. Just give me 1 second, I'll stop it. Okay, so you guys can see my 5250 screen, right? So what happened is during we call the journaling sessions, I mentioned that there are two ways to do it, right? So one is you do a create journal receiver, right? And then you attach them. But as I mentioned, if you are doing this on the newer way, what happened is actually when the new way of create library is when you do CRT library, right? I just show you something called test, right? JSON test, right? So this library is being created. When I work object PDN, JSON test, it has nothing there. You see all these are empty, right? There's no journaling on this library at all, okay? But if you were to do a SQL way, the newer way of how IBM encourage our users to do, is actually we will encourage you to do the newer method. So what I do now is I do a start SQL. All right. So I'm going to do another one called create schema. All right. I'm going to call it the Qingban. All right. LEECB. Right. So when I do this, and guess what happened? Schema has been created. This is actually a library has been created. Let me get it out here. Right. And now I work object PDM and the CB, right? You can see that this library itself, the library called LeCB, you have a journal receiver, automatic journal, right? You have a journals running, right? And everything is done automatically. And every object, everything that you put into this library will be automatically journaled, right? So you do not need to do anything at all. So I can say, okay, go and display this journal description, right? So all these things has been created. All right. So what I do now, I'm going to create a file, a table into this library called DCB. All right. So I have done this earlier. So I'm going to create this one. I'm going to create an employee master file, but this file I'm not going to call it into AS400. I do it in DCB. All right. And now guess what happened? I'm going to create a file name called employee in the library called DCB with employee number, just one field, and the character of 10, right? I hit enter, all right? So I will have one employee file. So you can see that I have an employee file that's empty, right? With one field only. So this is only one field that like character is 10. There's nothing here. Guess what happened? Let me get out. All right. I go back to work object PDM again. DCB, you can see that this table is being created, employee with the file called physical data. Now what happened? I'm going to do something called a display journal, right? JRN and what we learned in this, and this LeCB library, and called QSQ JRN. All right. So you can see that it's being recorded, right? I have this library created in 2:30 a.m. This is US time, and later on I actually created a file called employee at 2:22. And how do you know? You don't need to know all this thing. What happens is you come to here, you press an F1, right? So you press an F1 here, the system will explain, right? So for here, you can see that there is a code for J, right? So we can see the journal code B. So what I do is I go to journal code J. You have all this sales explanation, what is happening to this file and also on. Now, for demo purposes, I'm going to update the data into employee file, and you'll see what will happen in this journal. Okay. So straight away, I say I'm going to update the data. I'm going to do a manual entry. That's what Mr. Lee just explained, right? Whatever you do, back end, front end, once you have it journal, you cannot run away. Everything is being logged. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the data into this employee file using a backdoor method. I'm going to interfere it, right? So I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to say employee number is Jason01, enter, right? And done. So I have actually let me start SQL again. I show you. I have actually enter one record into the system. So you can see it's Jason01, right? And get out. Guess what happened now if I do the display journal again, right? I do the display journal again. You can see there's line number 10 show up now. It show R and it show 5. Now let me show you what's happening here. You can do a 5 here. Go and look at it. You can see there's a record. JSON is being entered. And what is this operation? The code is called operation on the record. And type PT. PT is what? PT is record added. It's cool, right? So basically, if you can do this, you can roll back and you can apply whatever changes on this file in the event that at 10 o'clock or something, because that is a timestamp of this operation. So you can actually recover. You see, those are the timestamp here, right, on which devices. So these are all recorded. So you can actually recover something we call rollback or apply the data, right, back to its original stage or move forward when there is a corruption of data, right? So this is where the purpose of the journaling about, right? So again, let me go back here. There is something that we learned in the previous one called display journal attribute, right? So what I do is I'm going to display journal attribute, right? And this LEECB, QSQJRN. Sorry, I think I put in the wrong one. Journal. I cannot remember this. Let me just. Right. For journal receiver attribute. Okay. So what I do, I go back again. Display journal JRN CVA. All right. So QSQ JRN001 and LEECD. I hope I remember this correctly. Yeah. So this is where you can see, remember we say how this journal is being created and what are the objects. The current journal status attached is running, right? And it start running collection and all this stuff. And what are the objects being journaled? So these are very cool stuff. So I press function 10, right? Let me do the functions F6 first. The associated receiver. Remember what's a receiver here, right? So we can see that what are the associated receiver? There's nothing here, right? Let me do 12 again. Then I do option 10, F10. So the F10 will show me, right, what are the journal object that's being, monitored. So I have 4 journal object, and what are them? So you can press option F19. If you come down to the bottom here, you can see F19. So I press F19 now. You'll see that I want to see the file. Let's say I want to see the file, right? You can see that this employee file is being journaled, right? So it's pretty cool. So you can actually check over here. You can there are various key. You can option 24. Again, you can see the display journal file. Option 13. It brings you to the same thing, right? This is a file, right? So basically, this provides you the overview of what this journal is about and what is its monitoring and what is the status of this journal, right? So basically, this is all about journal, right? So you can actually play around with it. There are a lot of options in bottoms, right? So you press F10, you can press more keys, and you can actually scroll down, right? There are more things here, right? So if you are a developer, you want to do more things, you can actually do something called remote journal, and you can apply this thing to your DR, and you can actually write your own Unix. Of course, that's just a side stories about it. It's not really, but basically what you do is you can do a lot with journal, and you can, if you're smart enough, you can actually write your own replication tools, okay, or recovery tools. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, that's why I just give you a very high level, very fast view of how this journal is being created in a very fast manner, right? Using the modern way. Of course, if you're on a legacy system, then no choice, or you're on the IFS, then you have to do what we taught you just now: create journal receiver, and then enroll this object inside there. So basically, that's all about journal in a very high level introduction. If you are interested, this one we do have another topics on all this BMS, and also we call it this disaster recovery topics that we actually share with you. How do we do recovery? Okay, but that topic will probably be presented by one of my colleagues because he's the expert of it. Right? For me, I'm still in the like you. I actually know how to look at it, how to debug, how to use it, but not in the very advanced level of writing program to manipulate the journal and do recovery and find out what's wrong. Okay, I think that sort of wrap up what I'm covering for today's topics. Right? I'm actually, I will pass it back to Qingban. If you guys have any question, I will check the question. Once I stop this share, I'm able to read the sharing. Just a minute. Let me stop this sharing. Yeah, now I'm back to the screen. Back to Qingban and the team.
Thank you, Jason. So now come to the end of the training. I think you guys should take a look at the journaling to see how you recover your data, like recover my data up to the 12 o'clock just now, or recover my data up to the previous batch job run. How to do it, or it's quite fun, you see. So, but don't try on production, try on development or other machine, so that you can recover your data without much of the problem. Actually, when you do a trial DR, you can actually recover it back, so that you can recover whatever record is there, that back to the time before you start by roaming back the journal. So it's quite fun that if the feature is there, is how you're going to use it. Okay, I would like to share with you who created the AS400. For those who are new to AS400, this is the guy who created the AS400 in IBM. So he came to here before, and should we have the forums, we can actually talk to most senior people inside there. So I think the forums is important. Back to the same thing. So if you wanted the training video, you send the email back to the email where you register for your training. Same thing for the training material in PDF. And should you require a certificate of attendance, also send it to us. Make sure that we have your right name. And I would like to stress that without a strong AS400 forum in country, we will not be able to do a lot more than those countries that is having a forum. And all our requests may not classify as important, especially when someone needs a special changes on the OS or database will not be in a priority. Yeah. So those training, like what I said just now, will be at 1 a.m. in the morning, and the training at USD dollars is very expensive for us when we convert to ringgit. And we can only send, every organization probably can only send 1 or 0 because it's too expensive. So with strong AS400 forum in country, we may get to know who upgraded the OS400 to the version 7.4 and what are challenges that you face, so that we can reduce all these challenges, and who have updated their PDF, and a particular problem, who have solved it, how to solve it, So if Indonesia is ahead of us, that means we are no longer the champion, but we should be the champions. We should take back the champion. So we should start it up, and because Thomas Cup also we are champion, so we should take it back. So I will expect all those who have more AS400 and to come in to help out the entire community of the AS400. Yeah. Not necessarily you must have the good knowledge of AS400, because if you are willing to give, you get to take it later. Okay? You probably giving your time, you get the knowledge. The forums, actually most of the forum will have the two particular interest group. One is the hardware and operation interest group. One is the developer interest group. All their interests could be different, and we will be talking to a different group of people. So one will be more towards the hardware, operating system, operation challenges, new feature that you need, certain features that you wanted that's not there. You can actually keep asking. But with one person asking, it's not going to be there. With the forum asking, the chances is higher. So whatever the programming that you are trying to do in RPG or in CL or in COBOL, whatever that you encounter problem, array that you're trying to do doesn't work, data area you wanted that to be longer than what is it now. So even though you shout, nobody listen unless we have a forum or we talk to another forum to bring it up to the labs. Okay, thank you very much. So remember that should you have any question, you can still send it to here, the same email ID. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you very much for attending. Bye bye.